First on our agenda is Alina Pierce with the Bear River Health Department, and she's going to talk about the Bear River Valley celebration. Yeah, and just come up here and so we,
Thank you. How are you guys doing tonight?
very good.
Good. Good. You're fed, so that starts the night off on a good foot, right? Well, thank you again for allowing me to come tonight. I appreciate your time. My name is Alina Pierce. I work for the Bear River Health Department. I've been there for about 20 years, a little over 20 years. I've worked as a community health educator in Fox Elder County that time. I've had the privilege of teaching classes out here. I've had my fair share of leading COVID clinics, which I still have some flashbacks from that coalition a few years before I started in this role. And that coalition is called the Box Elder Safe Communities Coalition. And maybe some of you have heard of that. Throughout the years, we've been partners with the school districts, again, law enforcement, Boys and Girls Club, New Hope Crisis, Family Support Center, the hospitals in our county, both Brigham City Community and Bear River Valley. So we've worked with them throughout the years, and the coalition basically follows an evidence-based process that looks at local data to see what's going on well in our community and what things could maybe pose some kinds of risks, especially to the youth in our area. So we look at that along with the school district, and we look at funding opportunities that are available to help us mitigate some of the risks that might be out there for our youth, which then leads to our adults in the community eventually, right? And then also to help build protective factors, what we call protective factors. And in the room, looking at your tagline here and looking at the pillars, I see that word connect. As you can see, my tag says connect to protect. So really it is about building good, healthy connections in the community, having adults that people can, that youth can look up to and provide them good opportunities for growth and just developing good, healthy habits. And so that's a lot of what the coalition has worked on. That coalition has a key leader board that is made up of community partners throughout Box Elder County. And then they also have a community board. So the community board comes together, looks at the data, makes a plan, puts some strategies and some activities in place. You might recognize some of their efforts. They've been responsible for putting up some of the prevention messages that you can see out here in Tremonton, the messages in Kent's and the library, some of the parks, things like that. That's what that coalition has been involved in. Well, we have an opportunity. We've received some additional funds from the state that are focused on substance misuse prevention, as well as some of the opioid settlement dollars that the county received. So for a very long time, we've been running that coalition countywide. And we know, I grew up in a small town. I grew up in Morgan. So you know that small towns have their own different feel and their own different culture. So Brigham City versus Tremonton, they're different characters, right? So for a very long time, even though we've been doing that coalition countywide, we've really wanted to be able to break that up and have communities that feed into Box Elder High and communities that feed into Bear River High. So with this funding that's coming in, we intend to do that. We intend to expand our efforts so that we can have more personalized, more specific efforts to just the northern Box Elder County area, have the Bear River Valley represented in a different way. And we know that there are already a lot of community partners out here doing wonderful things in the Tremonton and the Bear River Valley area. We want to use some of that funding to help support that, to help further that, and do what we can on our side through the health department to also just provide more of that specialized, localized feel. So I hope to have an opportunity to come back more during the general session and share more about that process at a later time. But for tonight, I really wanted to come and just give you a save the date, if you will. We wanted to come out here. We've already started some efforts, but we wanted to come out here and start off with recognizing that there's already wonderful, great things happening. So we have an event planned on March 20th. We're going to be doing a dinner celebration out at the Hampton Inn, and we are inviting folks that have been participating in interviews and in exploratory efforts with us. We've done some interviews to see kind of what the community's readiness is to participate in this effort. Zach actually participated. He was gracious enough to give me a little bit of his time. So we are inviting those people that have participated in that interview, as well as we want to highlight several individuals and agencies within our community. We're calling it the 2025 Bear River Valley Shine Your Light Celebration. And it's about building, again, those connections, and then from there, we will springboard off to creating a community board to start expanding those efforts as you will. So you all are welcome to that event. I do have formalized invitations that will be coming out very soon, so this again is just the save the date. But especially Mayor and Councilman Westergaard, with your efforts within public health, we really wanted to extend a personal invitation to you as well, and hope that you might consider attending. So I, again, will be sending out additional information, but do any of you have any questions for me about any of that information?
It's at the Hampton Inn, did you say?
It'll be at the Hampton Inn on March 20th, yeah, and it'll be at 6:30. It'll involve dinner and then a little program just to share a little bit about what we've started, and then really it's a focus on celebrating the positive, the community, agencies and individuals that are shining their light and making a difference already in our community.
Very good. Any questions?
All right.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
Thank you.
you.
Thanks for your time.
Okay. The Main Street Committee took a little hiatus over the Christmas holidays and now is getting back into the swing of things. And we've got our chair, Jared Lewis, who is going to come here tonight, and he is here, and he's going to kind of explain some of the goals for the committee and the interaction with the city council and how we can work together to, as we press forward on Main Street, how we can work together to come up with the best product possible. So with that, Jared, I'll turn the time over to you.
It's all right. I'd like to invite all those that are on the Main Street Stand Committee to come have a seat with us, have maybe a collaborative sort of conversation here. So if that's all right with everybody, give you guys a second to do that. All right, just want to take a second. Whether or not you're familiar with these guys here, there are comings and goings of members of this committee. Right now, I think we sit at 13 members, between 13 and 15 members, depending. So this doesn't represent all of us, but I want everybody to introduce themselves. I'm Jared Lewis, and we'll start.
Nancy Nicholas.
Jen Abbott.
Judy Whitfield. Sarah Whitfield. Casey Merrill.
Okay. Gentlemen, we're excited to be back here. We want to express a desire to keep moving forward with our development of Main Street. However, with conversations in the past, there's been kind of a common theme, and that's that we've sort of come up with based on research and public input and discussion, things that we believe that would revitalize and help Main Street. The input from the city council, who should be sort of guiding and directing us, hasn't quite been there. So there's been a real disconnect between us. We've come together and kind of wanted to seek your direction here going forward. Don't need to kind of hash out everything that's happened, but over the last, since May, so that would make it 8 months? 8 months? 9 months? 7 months. It's been a long time. We've put together surveys which have led, we've put out ideas which have led to surveys, which have led to discussions, and then concepts, and those have been presented to you. received as well as I think we could hope. But we kind of wanted to open up a discussion with you guys as to what you see our role being going forward. Maybe presenting some ideas as to how we, the Main Street Steering Committee, can help you, the Tremont City Council, to do your jobs and better Main Street. Does that make sense? So just kind of opening up the discussion, in your opinions, like what should a Main Street Steering Committee do? What should its function be? What have you guys seen us do well, and what would you like to see us do for you?
So I'd be happy to start. You guys have done a lot of really good things. Spent a lot of good time. I've come up with some great information. I loved your report. I really want to see a clear definition of priorities. That's what I'm looking for. And priorities according to what your surveys and everything have exposed, and what your steering committee would like to recommend to us as priorities. To me, that's what's going to drive where we go from here. So I think it's quite a simple request.
Yeah, absolutely. So in any organization, you'll have a pyramid of information, right? And it should come up to the top, and the executive decision makers should receive that pyramid of information and make decisions. So definitely priorities would fall
One thing
under
that
that
I
category.
kind of hear from the council is, I think that something that would be very helpful is to start coming up with some budgetary type, what is it going to take to do X, Y, and Z? As we get going down the road, it may not be something that we're going to be ready for right now, but that day is coming when we're going to need to know numbers, dollars and cents, and what it is that UDOT is willing to let us do and what they're not willing to let us do, and those kinds of things, all that kind of research that needs to be ferreted out. I think that's where the steering committee can be very helpful.
So that is,
If you don't mind, if I can question something on that, I would think that that's our engineers' roles and
Well,
the
it is,
planner's
but the
role.
engineer is going to be working with them.
Correct.
Yeah,
And so,
and he'll work with them, and I think that's the idea, is to, you're going to be collaborating with our engineers, you're going to be collaborating with the planners as we're coming up with all these ideas, and I think asking those questions is, I don't expect you to be able to come up with the engineer's estimate, but working with the engineers is going to be a part of it.
For me, it's gonna be economics, because I think that like the main plan you showed, all great, but I don't know if there's gonna be enough. I mean, you got the, like you said, what the state says about the highway, and I have some reservations myself about that, but it's really gonna be, I think that's a great plan, but I don't think there'll be enough money to do all of it. So I'm with Brett on the priorities, so where can we go to get started and make it better, and then go from there?
and I just want to recognize, so our city planner and our city manager have taken the lead in starting to put together some numbers and collaborate with UDOT. Things like that, things that truly are a full-time job, right? So they've taken on those responsibilities. So it's good that we're having this conversation to kind of define where is the line, and what can we reasonably as a volunteer committee be expected to sort of produce. As far as finding funding mechanisms, is that something that walks that line? Surely we can, a citizens committee can speak, and try to find those funding mechanisms. and things, but we do rely heavily on the information given to us from the city leadership, which has been great so far. So do you guys, that information sort of comes from them to us, right? Would you, with the information we get from them, would you like us to suggest priorities as details come to us? Does that make sense?
Well, I really think that the first thing we need to do is have this list of priorities. And then we come in as a council and say, okay, we agree with this list, or we'd like to see it this way, and then charge you guys to go out and, well, we need to work together instead of in two separate groups.
Agreed.
And so I'm glad you're doing this, but I think you come here, let's talk, let's discuss things together, right? And then let's come back to you and say, okay, that sounds great. This is where we would like to go. Can you do this? And then I think we can work together that way.
Can I ask a couple questions just for context? Sorry, being the new guy, I'm trying to catch up a little bit on, thank you for being willing to give your time on this steering committee. It really is. I think the intention of city council is to understand what the will of the people is on Main Street, and I think you've done a great job with that. What did we task them originally with? And has that been delivered? I'm just trying to understand.
I think they're the first, well, since May. I think they worked extra hard on coming up with some ideas and coming up with the survey instrument that kind of gave us some direction and public input. I'm really proud of the efforts that they have put into this so far. You can see we've got some great people that are willing to volunteer their time and help us out, and they have a vested interest in going forward. But I think maybe if the one thing maybe that maybe Jared can add to that a little bit, but I think the survey was
Big part of it.
Big part of it, because that gave us sort of public input and where the public is kind of thinking on Main Street and what they'd like to do. I know that some of our council members have gone around and interviewed with the property owners and the merchants on Main Street and got some pretty good input on things like the trees and what they would like to see done and those kinds of things. So I think that there's been sort of fact-finding maybe this first year. Now we're ready to go forward and start to actually implement some things now at this point.
Casey, you had a comment?
No, go first.
I would like to just put a little bit of input in too. I mean, you have put mega time into this thing, and there's no doubt about, and we appreciate the time that has been put forth. But what I see is, and I'm seeing it on social media and everything, there's frustration because people don't think that the city council is agreeing with you because nothing's happening. And so we're between a rock and a hard spot because you have done your job, in my opinion. You've done your job. We're waiting for numbers to come in so that we can decide what we can do with what money we have. We have 3 million in my mind and close to 3.5 if we push it. But we still haven't even heard any numbers yet on what it's going to cost for cement, what we're going to do with the cement and or lights or whatever we're going to be doing. Yeah. And so we're sitting as a city council waiting for numbers, and we're waiting. And so there's the spot right there. You're frustrated because we're not moving. We're frustrated because we don't have any numbers. How can we make any decisions if we don't know how much it's going to cost us? There we are. So where are we with UDOT, and where are we with the numbers?
Bill, have you got any input on that?
You're exactly right, Lyle.
That's where we're at.
You're exactly.
Yeah,
That's what
I would.
We want to fix Main
We need
Street.
to have a sit-down meeting with DOT right now so that we could get some straight answers, quit playing around, because until we get answers from DOT, there's nothing.
So-
We have no idea, if you want to get right down to it, of where we're going to go or how we're going to get there.
So I think we've had that meeting, haven't we?
We have. Some of the staff has had that meeting with UDOT staff, and it was a very preliminary conversation, but we did get good feedback from UDOT regarding specific design elements that have worked there as well as other places, and we took cues from other UDOT facilities that are also main streets. And we're putting together, Jeff, what stage are we at right now? Are we working up 30% drawings on that at all, or?
Jeff, why don't you come up so we can pick this up on the audio?
'Cause if you remember, we talked about
Yeah.
a concept that we were going to bring in front of you, which you've seen. We've talked about, the next step would be a 30% set of drawings that we'd bring back to you to discuss. I think
Right.
that's what we're working up right now, right? Once those are ready, we'll bring those to you probably in the next few weeks.
I think the end of the month,
End of this,
end of next month.
end of this next month. We'll have those ready for you to review.
So that the steering committee understands we can't do anything until we get numbers. And so maybe helping put fire underneath these guys will
I think
help.
the numbers and then a hard fast on the DOT, because
Also, we
I
won't,
think that's still, I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the hard and fast from the DOT is several months out because they don't want to really look at it until we have decided on what we would like to see. And then they're going to say no, which is just how UDOT works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying, but that could change the numbers, right?
Well,
If we're not if we don't, for instance, if we don't mess with the curb itself, and we worry about the sidewalk then it's a different number for
big difference in numbers.
big, and with the priorities, that might be I don't know, that's just me, that might be
Yeah.
where we have to go.
So actually, let me speak to that really quick. It's really enlightening when we're able to have conversations, and Jeff should definitely speak after I'm done here, and then we definitely need to get to Casey. But
I vote to just go to Casey. She has really good ideas.
So speaking with these guys about what their efforts have been, I think definitely needs to be a part of this process. Until we all kind of know, I came to the last meeting ready to ask them, so what exactly have we accomplished here? And Jeff pulled up receipts, right? And it was like work is going forward on that part of it. Our questions are mostly kind of what to do sort of in the interim. But yeah, I should definitely let Jeff talk now.
Casey? Okay. I shared this last week when we were with the steering committee. My expectation is that the end of March, beginning of April, we'll be able to bring the first SD set to the council. And after that, we'll go to UDOT. As I said in the presentation a month or so ago, we won't start getting numbers until the next step. Because we're looking into next year's construction season at the earliest. I don't really want to put bids together based on this year's construction costs. There's going to be a lot of fluctuation in the next 12 months that change and alter those costs. So starting, hopefully starting at the end of March, beginning of April, you guys will see the progress set, both groups will. Then we'll go to UDOT, and then we will continue, if everything's good, we will continue forward. My hope is that with patience, but with some good diligence from Chris and from Sam and feedback, that we can have everything ready to go out to bid around the holidays.
Later this year, at the
Yeah.
end of the year. Okay.
So, help me understand then. Are you putting together pricing on the whole project?
Nope, just the 5 blocks we were looking at.
Okay, and the streetscape, are we looking at facade grants? Are we looking at?
Just looking at the roadway improvements.
Okay, and so is that what we decided was number one priority?
So it's difficult to decide, right? Because we have things, we got a whole Russian nesting doll here pretty much. So for example, like the trees that have been a topic of discussion that they need to go, right? There are lots who argue that when the trees go, we ought to be ready to do other things, right? That we ought to be ready to do the sidewalks. Well, in order to be ready to do the sidewalks, we need to make sure that DOT is on board so that we can do some of the things that we wanted to do and that we have a whole financial picture of all of that. And we want to do lighting right on the street. Well, that shouldn't be done until we have, plans for sidewalks finalized. So that's been sort of the difficulty.
Is that what you're referring to as priorities? Is just the sequence and the priority that those would fall into?
So I can see where you're headed here, Jeff. You're headed with the whole streetscape. Let's get numbers, and then we can start to decide this is what we can and can't do according to
Funding.
these things here. So, I
So it comes
the
down.
priorities may
like,
change.
Would you like us to pick out trees, pick out what we think would be good?
Well, when it's time, your advice would be
for
great.
Lighting for, to help get this going, to get it moving, instead of just sitting here stagnant.
Jed's got a point there in that if we wait until we have everything to start to make some of these design type decisions,
Yeah.
it won't be the most efficient way
Yeah.
Right.
to get it done. So the city council, you guys as a council can tell us, hey, look, we would like you to start to investigate into some of these maybe more seemingly minor things.
Maybe
So
a
that
way,
we're ready.
Yeah.
maybe where we could maybe kind of get, things that we know are going to happen. The streetlights are going to, that's something that's going to happen. We're going to be replacing sidewalk, putting in infrastructure. Those kinds of things I think are kind of given, where maybe the big questions are is just how involved with things like the bulb outs and all of that kind of thing. That's where, in my mind at least, that's where the question marks start to pop up. But as far as things like, putting in the infrastructure and putting in the streetlights and what kind are we going to go with, those kinds of things are all fair game, in my mind at least. And then relying on planners and city engineer and everything to help us out maybe with some preliminary numbers, that would be really helpful too.
And way signs are part of this too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so I think look for some way signs and some.
We're actually ready to go forward with that, or we
Yeah.
may lose that money, so.
So I think Brett, you brought this up at the very beginning, priorities. If you take a look at all these details, the lights, whatever, the trees and that type of stuff, if we can get an idea of cost, like you're saying, Jed, and that type of stuff, but priorities, what would be the number one thing that needs to happen? The second thing, the third thing?
And there are some dependencies there, right?
There are, because if you are prioritizing the park, we need to put infrastructure in, we need to put electrical, all that stuff needs to be taken a look at if that's what your priorities are.
It's all got to be done before.
Yeah, it's got to be built from the bottom up. And so when we do something, we want to, strategically use our money the best way we can to make it happen.
You have to basically start from the bottom and work up. But in order to get to the bottom, you got to take the trees out, you got to take the sidewalks out, you got to,
Yep.
do these different
But
processes.
priorities, or lights in there, or whatever the priorities are.
Lights, you're gonna have 2 lights in a block, you're gonna have 10 lights in a block. You
Yes.
know
Right.
what kind of lights you
Yes.
want even. You want dark sky lights, do you want,
But those are the kind of decisions you guys need to discuss and bring
how many
back.
choices would you like?
Well,
That's one thing I feel like is hard. Is last summer we came to you guys with a list of priorities, and you guys approved it, and then now you're saying you want priorities. But we gave you a list of priorities, and then we did the survey, which
hey,
is cool.
share
I
that
get.
with me again, because I looked through that report and I don't see a real succinct priority list.
I was
see
trying to find
what
it in
we
my
think
list.
some
and I
are.
can't find it besides the
The surveys were.
yeah. But
We do have a list.
Wasn't there the top 4 things?
number one was
Trees is number 1, I think.
Yes.
number one was sidewalks, right? My notes here are kind of messy.
Safety thing.
And then we talked about walking tour brochures to try to increase tourism, and we had
low hanging fruit, right?
yeah, low hanging fruit, yeah. And then we had removing the old signs that are downtown. And then there was confusion on whether or not sidewalks was first or fourth, but I think we made it first because of the safety feature. Wayfinding signs were on there. And then, yeah, I don't know where the actual, like,
Let me track it down.
yeah, 'cause I only have my notes from that meeting. I don't have like, the actual list.
So I'm gonna put that on action items for this, well, it's actually already there. So we need to establish, reestablish maybe clear priorities and hang on to those, right?
And incorporate, those in with the drawings. No?
Well, maybe it's changed since the survey too, because that was all before the survey too.
Correct.
So maybe we need to reevaluate that.
I'm
Well,
very late to the game, but I'm wondering, I look at this project and it seems very exciting. It's something that I think everybody in Tremont would want. But what is the ultimate goal here? What is
So
our end result here?
That is actually something that we discussed earlier on as a Main Street Steering Committee. I'd be happy to share that with you.
Oh,
But that's a good question, and maybe really important to bring up right now. I pulled up our mission statement as Main Street Steering Committee, and maybe you guys can tell us if this aligns with what your values, your values are. So the mission of the Main Street Steering Committee is to assess the current state of Main Street environment by observation, public input, discussion, and then make recommendations to Tremont and City Council to create a functional and inviting Main Street environment. Our vision statement is we envision an inviting, vibrant, and functional Main Street by recommending beautification, betterment, and amenities that will embolden active citizenship, invite and grow strong, healthy business enterprises, and preserve our strong heritage. So in those statements, the first probably 2 or 3 meetings that we had, we just focused on, what are our core values and what do we want to accomplish here. Strong identity and heritage, healthy businesses, and active citizenship, were kind of some of those main ideals that we decided we wanted to help strive for. So that's kind of, as we think about all of these, we wanted to have something to bring it back to say, well, does this line up with what our mission is? As we think about, trees, for example, will making this decision help embolden active citizenship and grow strong, healthy business enterprises and preserve our heritage? Right. So is there anything that the council would add to that mission, or is that pretty on point?
I think that's great, but I think we're past. I think we go to the meat and potatoes and just say that. Are we gonna do? We obviously gotta do sidewalks, but we can't do that till we decide how it's gonna be for infrastructure. So we gotta prioritize and then with Bill and Jeff and them to decide, make sure we have with the public works, the power's there, whatever the lights. But we've talked about it, and I think the concept's great. It might be, depend on budget, it might be a portion of that.
Yeah, we'll do it. We may need to do it in phases depending on how the budget
Right.
comes in.
Right.
But I think there's 2 different ideas about what priority means. And the priority over on this side means what is the
First.
the most important thing. And over here, the priority is what needs to be done first.
That's true.
And they're not necessarily the same thing. Because the critical path that leads towards putting in, if this side says trees are the most important thing, and you guys say, but we can't do those first because we don't know if we have the budget for trees this year. So it may be that we need to do sidewalks this year, even though it's not the priority over here. It's the priority over here because it's a safety question and it's the best use of our money this year. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do. I wonder if we shouldn't be a little bit more, or define better the priorities of the steering committee, which would be on a much broader scale, saying, what are your broad priorities? Is it Main Street beautification is your first one? And then once we decide that, then we can go through and then we can start putting a number together, and then we can decide, well, we'll do this first, this second, this third, and on and on and on.
So what we're doing that with
I may.
Jeff. So
Right.
Jeff, go.
My suggestion, and it's a bit of a tangent, but I feel like everyone in this room is very hyper-focused on 5 blocks. Main Street's 3 miles long. We don't have sidewalk for most of it, but we really care about sidewalk that's existing, that's mostly navigatable. Yeah, it's not the nicest, smoothest, cleanest concrete ever, but there's no concrete on from Maverick to the Hampton. That could use some sidewalk. It'd be nice if you could connect the fairgrounds to downtown. So my suggestion is maybe we bring back and start getting concept plans for the other 3 miles of this road together with the steering committee, because there's a lot more to look at than 200 east to 200 west. That for the most part already has this infrastructure in place. We've got 9 months till we think we're gonna have UDOT's approval. We've got a lot more to look at than to sit here and keep going, trees or sidewalk, trees or sidewalk, trees or sidewalk. What about the other 3 miles of this road that we can't do anything else on? There isn't any architectural things out there. So why aren't we trying to start putting concept plans together for how we want the whole damn road to look instead of 5 blocks?
So yeah, that is actually another one of, so the Main Street Steering Committee talked with our city leadership here about what they would like to see us help them accomplish, right? But we work for the council, right? That's who we're reporting to.
I thought you worked for Daryl's.
I do. Yeah. But we wanted to kind of state that we had some ideas, and most of those have already been discussed, such as deciding what priorities are and things like that. But selecting plants, lights based on research. Another thing we would like to suggest is maybe we could assist the city leaders. By that I mean Jeff and Bill, and Mayor Holmgren, to help develop this form-based code, which would kind of accomplish, right, what that whole street is to look like, right, some of those elements that the city can use, form-based code to kind of help direct what that all is supposed to look like. The idea being that from I-15 to the crossroads, that people should have a certain experience going from there all the way through. We got downtime right now, would you guys like us to assist these guys in doing that research?
Sure.
I think they're intercorrelated with the lights, which lights you're going to purchase. It's that design, that look and feel that you have as you drive down the street that we're looking for. Because then we're going to work backwards into that plan, right? While we're waiting for UDOT on the approval of the other things. So I think the code is really important. What is the look and feel that we're looking for? What are those standards? So that we know, now we can start to pass things and approve things and budget towards that vision of that look.
To go along with that, the timing, instead of feeling like there's you and us, vice versa, and that type of stuff, we become, a unit.
Yeah.
When you guys can understand what the timing is of UDOT, and until they get their approval on their street, that's not our street, it's UDOT's street, then we can finally approve it and get going on it.
That was the whole meeting, the whole plan for tonight is for us to come together.
Yeah.
Not you and us, but us together. And when we first started talking, we were going over priorities. Of course, the trees need to go because they're tearing up everything, and I love trees, and I hurt when one's cut, but they need to go. And then the sidewalks have to be torn out, but we've got to have, if we do underground power, water, all that has to be there. So it's,
Exactly.
we can't do any of that till we get more information from UDOT. So that's what's kind of put everything on the hold. We've looked at other things, but those are major things and major expenses that.
And I like what you're saying. The code and the standards of what we're looking for is something you could be working on now. So that when we do get UDOT approval, we can move forward. But that code would be, we know what the standards are in signage, coloring, look, feel, lighting. What are those things that we want to see when we drive down the street That's really
I
important.
think if we would take the time to look, I live by the fairgrounds, and so I drive from the fairgrounds into town every day. And it's a really beautiful city.
Yeah.
And it's very cohesive all the way down. I don't think there would be a lot that would need to change. It feels country at the fairgrounds, it feels rustic, and the coloring of the fairgrounds itself is sort of rustic, and that it goes into the downtown area. So I don't think there's a lot that needs to change as far as that concerned. Infrastructure, stuff like that, that's not my lane. I don't know. I'm the type of person I have older children that have taught me that we need to use what we have. Let's not tear everything up just because we think it needs it. Has it been evaluated that these trees do actually need to come out? Are they tearing up the sidewalk so badly people can't walk on them? Why can't we move it around or do something around it? I don't know. I'm just saying, for me personally, to go in and just start ripping everything up seems a little bit ahead of the game. I think we need to decide what the theme of it we want it to be and pull that down into the downtown.
It's my personal opinion that, you know, you look,
And you see the sidewalk.
you look at what a can of paint and some lighting can do to a main street. I think there's so much that could be done by simple standards set and some sort of facade grants in that space that we could start moving toward faster than, and it could be, because you can do all of that and you would look past a sidewalk that's crooked while we're waiting for approval, right? That's just my opinion.
If you were to, when Lyle went around, was it you alone, or did you have somebody, you alone? When you went around and surveyed the property owners and the merchants, their thought was, well, let's remove the trees. And, I mean, that can be done. We just need to do that. That alone would open up Main Street to where you can kind of sometimes see a little better where the needs are and what we can do. The facade grants, when you were talking about that, that's something that this committee could start to work with Jeff and Bill and start to coming up with a plan that you could come to the council and say, this is some ideas for a facade grants, and this is what we look at it going to cost, or estimate it's going to cost, what we're going to be willing to offer to merchants and property owners to upgrade and fix their facades up.
The one thing I gotta say about them trees is I've had to trim them a few times, some of the bigger branches, but when they overhang buildings, the leaves plug up their drains and all that, and then they have roof problems. Them trees really are too big. And I think if you just trimmed them down to stumps, that's not gonna be good.
Well, they're
You know?
diseased.
They've got away from us,
A lot of them are diseased,
yeah.
and,
But they're-
insects are.
They're ruining a few of the buildings, and you would never see a facade with all the trees.
Absolutely.
Oh, sorry, Judge, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if we stay within our property, don't go out into the road, that cuts a big thing out. UDOT will agree with us a lot faster, a lot quicker, a lot easier if we stay within our property. And we could probably get busy on it a lot faster, and it would cut a lot of expense out. Down the road, if we want to go on and do the bollards and move everything out, we could do that at a later time. This would give us a little bit better way of getting part of it done today and a part later on. That just might make it an easier way of traveling.
Kind of phase 1, phase 2 sort of
Right,
thing.
do a phase 1, phase 2, and that way we could go in there and take out from the curb and gutter into that 4-foot or whatever it is sidewalk mark. We could take that section out. That takes all the trees out. You can put all the infrastructure back in. We're staying all in our area. We don't have to fight as much with Utah. Doesn't matter, you're gonna fight with them no matter what.
Could lighting go in then too?
Yeah,
Yes.
That same spot.
that would be good.
That takes all the trees out, Now you got a place to put all of your infrastructure back in, your storm drains, your new curb and gutter, your
Yep.
new trees, your new power, your new everything, in that.
8 feet.
Is it 8 feet? Okay, so 8 feet.
Well, if you take 2 feet of the 8 and put that strip in and put pavers in, so that you can go and take the pavers out if you got a problem down the road.
Well, and you absolutely want to either do a paver in that section or a stamped concrete, something, and break it up so that you can take it out very easily if
Exactly.
you have a problem, you know, and that way you've got all of your, you can get everything put in.
Then we don't have to replace all the cement all the
You
way
don't have to
down.
replace it all.
Totally
It's
agree.
just that one section plus the curb and gutter. You might be able to get, I don't know what to even say, prices have changed so much, but you might get 2/3 of this done.
Is anything impeding us from doing that?
You'd still,
Just permitted.
I think we just need to decide how to go about, where to.
you'd still have to
you know,
get
how to
UDOT's
go.
approval to do any kind of right-of-way construction, even if it isn't them, because you'd be using the roadway as your assembly and installation
This
spot.
is something
Paul?
we have to go get, okay.
Do we need
You know,
UDOT's
it'd be a lot
permission to
easier.
pour a sidewalk and put that in?
It's easy to get it because
Right.
they don't look at the sidewalk, it's their right of way, but they look at it as the city's responsibility.
Right.
So it'd be a lot easier to get, I mean.
Yeah. Could make all the difference in the world being able to get something done. this
'Cause then you
year.
can get lights in too
Yeah, you can get your lights in,
and trees out.
and if we know what kind of lights, you can engineer for them, so.
One thing on the lights, Jed, while you're on that, when we put them around Fourth West and down Main Street, that was kind of the goal to keep them uniform in the city. Not saying them's the ones, but if we're gonna change them, we have to change them all. So look at them lights and see if they would be okay. That's there in front of Family Dollar or whatever.
Are they the same lights out by the fairgrounds? Do you
No,
know?
not them big ones.
Probably different than that.
These are just them little black ones that are, if you drive down by IFA.
Right in front of, yeah, right, it's the Tremont Center, is that what that development's called?
Yeah.
So would you want us to come up with 8 or 10 different styles of light?
That's
Yeah, and
the
which
idea.
one, 1, 2, and 3, prioritize them.
Or 3.
2 or 3, or,
Well, yeah, just a couple of, two, and some costs and some price, some prices that can be,
Them guys can help you get on pricing.
that way you can get, once you've got a light figured out, then you can start doing engineering on the electrical, and you know
Yep.
whether you're gonna need to put 1 transformer on each block, or 2 transformers, or if one will do the whole street. It just depends on what you put in.
One thing that I think would help is if we had a theme or a design concept for the whole street, or even just those 5 blocks. Like, do you want it to be country or rustic or
That's what you
whatever,
guys, I
something-
believe you guys come with an idea.
Yes.
That's that form-based.
No, that's what our job is, because like the lights drastically are different
Oh, yeah.
depending on what your theme is, and then the trees could be different, the painting, whatever, could be all very different depending on what our theme is. So if you want us to come up with a theme, and that's probably our first thing. I've come to you and get that approved before we start picking out lights, so that we can.
That really is the outcome, right?
Right.
But how do you want it to look and feel when we drive down that road?
Well, that
Yeah.
depends on what you're trying to do.
well, that's
Trying to
what they can
build
decide.
downtown for more commerce? Or are we trying to attract people to come in the seasonal times and spend money? Or you want businesses down here 24/7, 365?
According to the USU Wellness Survey, food and opportunities for youth are the two things that are the food options and opportunities.
Dining.
Yeah.
And the
What?
results of the survey bear that out.
Yeah, and the other survey, yeah, they both were demonstrating those two things.
Things to do, right? And we all know that that means for
Right.
most, like for youth especially, and food, we're right up there.
Yep.
I have a question. Can you go to somebody that owns a business and tell them how you're gonna make it look, or is that something we can do?
That is a good question. These guys can answer that.
They want the grant funding.
Want the grant.
If they want the grant funding, that's,
Now, the short answer is yes. With commercial structures, we can tell them, we want you to stay within this certain
Color swatch.
theme or color swatch or any of those details that we want to put in there. In the Ogden Valley, for example, they wanted to look like Park City. So they adopted a theme, which was the
Whatever we
mountain
get.
modern theme.
Yep.
We don't want that here, but some places like Syracuse or Roy have adopted a agro-industrial theme. And again, I don't know if we want that here, but these are conversations that we can have and come back to you with saying, these are the conversations we've had, this is the direction we're trending. What do you think? Is this the right way to go?
I like the rural idea. Coming into Tremont, it looks rural, it feels rural. If that could happen all the way through Tremont.
And then with your highway, Borgstrom Highway, we need to also think about, a military
Patriotic.
rural theme.
Right. Patriotism.
So we can definitely, I want to be cognizant of the time that you've given us. Where are we trying to land here on time?
Whenever you get done.
It's,
Let's keep
important.
this conversation going for I think we're making some good headway.
I've taken some notes here that we don't need to talk a whole lot more about. But just let me kind of work this out, and you tell us if this is enough to kind of get going. What I'm hearing from you, the city council, is that you would like us to focus on clear priorities, such as lights, trees, design elements, wayfinding signs. And we believe the best way to do that is to help the city develop that form-based code. This will help us guide those decisions, right? So is that our mission going forward, is help the city design right now a form-based code?
While we're waiting for the process to happen.
And then we can kind of pivot, but is that the mission?
I think so. And as we're going through this, sort of, you're going to interact with Chris and Sam and those guys, and we're going to start getting some ideas for, numbers. And if we want to go with just a 2-foot strip, put in the infrastructure and power and water and lights, versus maybe a more involved, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, whatever it is, kind of a thing. So
If you want us to explore.
I think if you can come up with, some suggestions for lights would be just showing that we, just getting something going.
I think that theme, figure out that theme.
Color code, kind of the look and feel.
And we'll rely on, experts like we relied on, survey experts and things to kind of guide our decisions. This is something that Bill and Jeff have been working on, just so you guys know, for a very long time if you're not aware.
Yeah.
And so we will rely on you guys to let us know how, what needs decided. Is that fair?
I have one follow-up question, if that's okay. What is the steering committee's opinion on Midland Square and where that falls in priority? Are you excited about the Midland Square approval that is on the docket for tonight? Are you not? What is your opinion? Because to me, it is part of Main Street, and so I'm really interested in how the committee feels about it.
So I can give kind of a higher view of 30,000 foot view, and then you guys can chime in. There have been mixed opinions during the course of this. The main thing that Midland Square has going for it is that in regards to, unless we decide to go with like the current sidewalk length or width rather, it was the only thing in the scope of what we were talking about that we could actually control, right? And so that's kind of what pushed our effort to, especially where we sort of felt the pressure of the RCOG grant expiring, right? And this is one of the things that maybe wasn't communicated so well, is that we started pushing for concepts to go forward for that. Partially for that reason, we could control it and we had money expiring for it. That being said, I think we came up with some pretty dang good concepts for it. And during the last meeting when we presented on Main Street, or on Midland Square rather, there was some things that still need to be hashed out within the committee as far as what our collective opinion is on it. We thought we had something kind of settled. Turns out it wasn't quite so settled. But does that sum it up, guys?
Well, we kind of put, we're interested in Midland Square because that's going to be a big attraction for the city. There's so much controversy over Midland Square right now. There's, I think everybody's afraid to go there.
That is-
But we kind of thought we'll focus on Main Street, get some ideas on Main Street, and we've not forgotten about Midland Square at all.
That is true. Now, just to say that those are the reasons we focused on that does not mean that there is not substantial evidence that a public plaza can help do what we're trying to do, which is push vitality, help businesses grow, establish an identity, and encourage citizenship, right? All three of those things, I've spent way more time reading peer-reviewed journals about public plazas than I had ever thought I would. There is good evidence to suggest that would be a good use of the city's time and money, right? And especially where we've got funds that were sort of written towards Midland Square. The efforts of the steering committee were kind of the main things. So we can control it, we have funding, and there's good evidence to support that it would be worthwhile. Does that make sense?
So Jared, can you put that in the mix when you guys are coming up with your 1, 2, 3? Put that in the mix of where that falls? And maybe items within the park, however you prioritize it.
Is it
The
possible
whole
to
point
review it?
of all this, since
You
the
pull up
beginning,
the
is to get more people into Tremont from the freeway. And we can do that with more businesses, attract more businesses in here, so that people in the community have a place to shop, and we don't have to go out of town because it's not here. Focus on veterans. I know some people are upset about the Borsten brothers. I love all veterans. I've got 3 kids that are veterans, but thank goodness I'm not a Gold Star parent. I'm a Blue Star parent. The Sullivans in New York lost 5 sons. I can't even imagine that. The Borstens lost 4. They're the only people in the country that has lost so many kids. And I know when Nick was in Marines in Iraq, sometimes I would have such a panic attack at Kent's that I would go home because I was afraid there might be a Marine car there. I can't even imagine. He came home safely, thank goodness. I can't even imagine what those parents went through. And so I think having Main Street named after that is great. Our whole focus is to get people here. We've got the name of the Borsten brothers. We've got lots of other veterans that Judd's been working on. I mean, 150 plus already. When we do work on Midland Square, those names can be on plaques. But the whole thing is to bring this community together, a place to shop, and bring other people here when they're driving through. So that's been one of the points. What do we do to get all that here?
Well, and I've said this same thing from day one. We could turn that into our absolute flagship for the military. And with the Borgstrom Highway, with the Gold Stars on the highway, if that was done up the right way, that would draw a lot of people into here just to see what we have, what's available.
I think that's all, but I still think we want a spot for us to enjoy. Our own. I mean, when the governor's here, if the governor could have been standing, we were all not on the road. Been there when the church presidents were here. I think that, and it's been, Midland Square to me has been here to there, but I think it could be more utilized. It's not gonna take away from the memorial park. I think it adds it, because I think people go and read the names. But I just think we need to do both. We want our own people to have a place to relax and do stuff besides the people we bring in. So,
Well, like I said, I just started with this committee last week, I guess it was, or whatever. And my first glance of that was, it's not something that's appealing to me, simply because I come from a place of not tearing things down just because they're not working. Let's work around them, you know, in a way that is better for our community. For instance, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the big, I don't know what that's called, that big, huge bell-looking thing that's right on the main.
Clock tower.
That's not included in there, and it looks like that's being torn down. To me, I didn't grow up in Tremonton, but to me, removing that to me would be a waste. I feel like that's when that park was first built. That's kind of a commemoration, you know. So I look at things that way. I mean, whoever drew this did a beautiful job, but I'm not really sure that it's.
So
why do
the-
we go through tearing
Yeah.
everything up when we can make some.
Well, moving it, you know, you're not going to be able to save the foundation, the cinder block area. That's, but the bell tower itself can be moved and moved to another location.
So it can be saved because of
The bell tower part,
Yes,
not the,
design.
not the cement part. I don't think that's going to be able to be saved.
Because of this design?
So
Yeah, because we're making it flat. 'cause right now
I
it's not
think
flat.
you guys,
It's
for the
not
scope
really
of tonight, since we're already over time, we would be, you know, these are things that we probably need to talk about in committee. We've spent 9 months, you know, going over this, and so it's gonna be hard to kind of sum up in the next 15 minutes, you know what I mean? So just to kind of sum up, are we, so I have here that the steering committee will go forward for the next while, helping develop form-based code. Simple enough,
Coming up with some plans, maybe for some lights and different things like that.
all encapsulated in that.
Yep.
So, fair enough?
Yep.
And before you end, I'd like to say something. I felt for a while a contempt or just a bad feeling between the city council, you guys, the public, and it shouldn't exist. Okay, it should not exist. We're here to take your advice and the things you get. And so please don't ever feel like you got 5 bosses up here. That's impossible, you know? But what makes it easier is when you come to us and then we have to come up on a consensus to decide on, okay? But if you sit here and ask for, well, what's your opinion? You're gonna get so many different answers. You're not gonna be able to go anywhere. And same thing with the public, you know? We're here to represent the public and we're not their enemies. We're their constituents and we're here to represent them. And so I just don't want that contempt out there, please. We love our citizens. We love you guys and appreciate everything you're doing. And it just doesn't need to exist, okay?
I completely agree. I feel good about, and I hope I speak right for the committee, that we feel good about this direction. Now that we've sort of got some buy-in on both sides, now we can kind of move forward and expect to be hearing from us, you know, when we have some designs and some updates on that form-based code. And
I think too, even as a progress sort of reports, you know, just let us know. We'll invite you back periodically and whether it's once a month, once every other month, once a quarter, whatever it is, we'll get you back and have you give us a progress report.
I think the most important thing and what's really special about this is that this has been trying to happen for such a long time. We are the group of people that are not going to let it not happen.
There you go. Right on.
That's what this is, and we'll find the right way to do it. We've stubbed our toe a couple of times, but we'll figure it out. So,
Thank you.
Another
This is
suggestion
not
I
all
might
the
have.
steering committee. We have quite a few
yes.
that
We're not-
have kind of either dropped out or not here, so this is not all of us.
This is the main group.
I'd also like to
You're always
suggest,
there.
we're working on these strategies, and I don't know if you've looked at these goals and everything, and some of those involve you guys, and so I'd like you to look at those as a committee and pull out of there those things that you guys can have some impact on and help us set some goals and some strategies in each one of those. So that would be really helpful in the near future so that we can start getting those posted and we can start working forward with those strategies.
Great. What would be the best way for us to, I'm assuming you guys have documents,
I'll send you I'll send you the strategies, okay?
and we can make that an item of
Yeah.
sort of our meetings going forward. We'd love
There's
to-
a lot of them, but just pick out of there the ones that you guys will have impact with. Okay? And add any you think you need to add. Can't say, well, use them, but.
At the end of the day, we are here to help the city council achieve its goals, right? So hopefully we feel that kinship there.
Well, we sincerely do appreciate all the effort. I mean, you stuck it out for 9 months, and this is a big deal, you know. And sometimes it was almost weekly meetings there for a while, and so we appreciate all of your efforts. We really, really do.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Did you get my message?
Okay. Want to take a few minutes and.
Yeah, Bill, do you want to kind of let us know how your planning strategy went with the city?
Yes. So, city staff came up with a lot of really good ideas in response to the input that they were given. The department heads just really took off and ran with it, coming up with some of their own strategies and ideas that would help fill in some of the, not gaps in what was being proposed, but in fulfillment of the goals as outlined. And just super excited to get things going and
What's that?
Did you get my message about?
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, next meeting, that's also 3 months.
Oh, but okay,
can't even be mad at her.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, we're gonna take and run with it.
Okay, so do you want to put together your notes and then or should we get our strategies done and then they'll just start to work on their level to see what they can do to, I mean, should we combine them somehow, our thoughts?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Once we get those last 2 goals as outlined by the city council, we'll have reconvene our staff meeting and go over those last few goals.
okay, so you went through the first 2.
Correct.
Okay, perfect.
That was the direction you gave me, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, and then the other thing I would like to do is, I would like to, once we get these done, I would like to put together a town hall on just these strategies. And I'm just going to throw this out here, but I'm thinking that I'd like only 2 council people to go to that, just so we don't have to make it a
public
a
meeting.
public meeting. And so, because we really want the public to come back and give us information rather than us direct information from them. And so, would anyone be offended if I asked another councilman to host that meeting with me and we do that? So when we get these strategies kind of in place, I'd like to do a town hall.
Yeah.
Bring in the public, go over these and get their input, and then I think we can just put this whole thing together.
Can I volunteer
Sure.
to join you? Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah.
Can I just give you a quick example of what some of our department heads came back with? In fact, I'll just pick one. Kim, who's over the library, she said this year is 250 years of, or this coming year will be 2026 will be 250 years of the United States as a country. 250 years from 1776. So
Okay, yeah.
so she's, excuse me, suggesting that we build up to a 4th of July event. Talked about a year of service projects, highlighting some community stories, not just the Borgstrom brothers. I think they get a lot of play and they should, they deserve it. But we have a lot of really awesome service and other kinds of stories, not just military related, but service to the community
awesome.
and other things. So
Yeah.
work on our digital presence and anyway, just all kinds of really fantastic ideas. And all of the department heads were just bubbling with fantastic suggestions and ideas, so,
And granted, we've got a huge document here, and it's going to need to be whittled down.
yeah.
We understand that, okay? It's not going to be this, okay? This is way too big, but at least we're headed in the right direction, so.
Just a matter of, it's 100 years of the county fair will be 100
Yes.
years old this year.
Yep.
And I think that's,
Find a way to celebrate that, too.
So.
That was one of my
150
suggestions.
Years is 2026, July of 2026 is
Right.
when, okay.
So we would do maybe kick off this year and do a year's worth of service and commemoration and have it culminate at July 4th
That sounds awesome.
on 2026.
I think they're going to be doing it clear across United States.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
This was a mandate from the state library, didn't she say?
Yeah, they're both a mandate, but also some additional fun things that she's thought of on her own that I think they want to implement, so.
Yeah, state library's already thinking.
If I
about
can take about 10 minutes, maybe we can get through one more pillar. Now, I don't know what's going on here. You're getting the condensed versions here, so anyway. Pillar 3 is on connect to peace and security. By 2030, establish Tremonton City as a model for safety, security, and well-being by enhancing public safety services, fostering a culture of safety, and creating an environment where residents and employees feel secure and supported. Detailed goals are safe and secure environment. Strengthen the capacity of the police and fire departments with state-of-the-art technology, resources, and ongoing training to ensure rapid and effective responses. We saw some of that come out.
We're not getting,
I know you're not. I don't know why this short document got to you guys. I sent you the link. Do you have this link, Bo?
I do.
I sent this.
Email, isn't it?
this was the link that you sent us that we're looking at, the shared, Bo and I are both in it, but we're not.
On
looking at
pillar
the same
3?
thing you're in, yeah.
thing.
Maybe send us a new link. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
I just texted you the link to what we're looking at, which I think are.
Oh, text, okay. Okay, good. I can see your blue in there now.
You can.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I probably just need to pull them both together because this one here is very condensed, if you will, for the 3 pillars. There's all right, well, let's go through what we got on here. Safe and secure environments, strengthen emergency services, and maintain a culture of safety. Okay, that wouldn't be too hard.
Can I just insert?
Yeah.
I still go back to the very essence of what a city is having clean culinary water. Being able to take care of the waste so we don't get sick. Then, of course, you always bring up fire and police. And we need to bring roads into this thing, and they're all measurable things that we need to add to this thing, and that's what makes a city, is those 5 things. The rest of it is whistles and bells, in my opinion.
Roads,
The first thing is water.
water, sewer.
Maintain, the standards, state standards of clean water, and have enough water
To put the fire out.
or to drink
Yep.
and to grow. And the next thing is taking care of waste.
Okay.
And the police, the fire,
Amen.
and then streets.
Amen.
okay.
The infrastructure of Tremont. After that, you can do what you want.
Yeah, I've got those on here.
Pretty basic, yeah.
Only thing we're here for.
Well, not the only thing. We need to,
Well, meaning
can
that
do
if we don't
more.
take care of those first 5 things,
Yeah.
Well, you
we don't have a
community.
city.
Right.
Right.
You don't have a city, but to make a community, then you need some of those other things, so.
Okay, so with those added, we have the safety and safe and secure with strength emergency services, community comfort and well-being, improve public spaces and offer engaging activities, and fact-based media, social media updates on progress. Economic stability, support business growth and promote affordable housing, employee safety, enhance workplace safety protocols, sustainability, integrate safety and environmental considerations into planning. And then crime prevention, roads, water, and sewer.
And I added that fact-based, social media updates on progress, just because in the USU Wellness Survey, two of the top 3 concerns of the citizens were water-based, and from everything I've heard, those aren't concerns today.
But it's.
And if
it
they
is-
are-
Always a concern.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is, what facts can we give to them to help them understand the current situation?
Yeah.
So that they're less concerned about it. And if they are concerns, we should be talking about it on a weekly
We have
basis
been.
right now.
We have
So-
been. The mayor shows what we used to use in culinary and was secondary.
Made
He's
huge
saying,
headway.
he's
So-
saying get that word
Get it out.
Yeah, I mean, how many people actually watch
Been in,
our meetings,
Been on some
right?
of these newsletters.
So,
It's there in the newsletter.
yeah.
But part of this whole thing is we would eventually establish a dashboard that people can, boom, this is where everything's at.
Right.
And then
Yep.
they could look at that and know instantly where we're at.
You bet.
And a central location to go to find it.
And that's all I'm saying is let's just go meet them where they're at.
Yeah.
Let's be proactive about getting to our citizens with information, because that takes away half the concern of the citizens is they just don't know the facts. And so if we can get that out, the better off we'll be. So,
I think a lot of facts need to be shared to citizens.
Yeah.
Basic facts.
Now, is there anything else besides the roads, water, and sewer that you would want in this strategy right here?
Did you put?
Police and fire.
Okay, I've got the crime prevention is police, right? And then fire and security would be, or safety and secure environment. I can put a note up there for fire department.
emergency services is fire.
Water, including sewer and water, culinary, secondary, and sewer,
Uh-huh. Water, culinary, yeah.
secondary.
Can you see me putting this stuff on there?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I don't know what. Okay, the next one, let's just go through those detailed ones in Pillar 4. Promote a healthy environment, develop parks and health programs. We'll let Zach and that come up with some good stuff on that. Transparency, launch a public dashboard. This is what I was talking about. And I like the way you put that, Bo. Let's put it out to where they go, and it may take a lot of different things. Even to our LED sign out on the street may have
right.
some things on. I don't know. Let's see.
Is one of our goals, I brought this up last time, Zach, maybe you can help. When we go down to Utah City of Leagues, I always talk about different communities that are reaching that health category or whatever, achievement. I think we're doing just about all those things. Can we set that up as a goal that we try to become a health?
I can't remember the name of it either.
Healthy community, Utah?
Yeah.
Health, what?
Healthy community. It's
It's an award.
an award that the League of Cities and Towns puts out, and they.
Okay. It's on there.
Healthy community.
Because I think we're doing everything that all those other cities are doing. We, might
Well,
as
that's
well
a great
get the
measure.
brand up there.
Get Healthy Utah. Okay.
I think does park space
there.
come into that and where we're at in leisure service? I'm not sure on that
Healthy
part.
Utah.
Okay.
But I'll look into it, Lyle, for sure, and
Okay.
and Brett, I'll report to you.
So the health department has helped other cities in our district achieve this. We can totally help.
Okay.
That'd
So
be
I'll put
great.
in here, partner with the health department.
You can help us with that, Alina? Then, yeah, that'd be great.
I'll make a note.
Okay, transparency, launch a public dashboard, and, you know, I want to be careful talking too much politics, but the thing I've been impressed with the last 4 weeks is how transparent our federal government's been. And it's like, and, you know, honestly, I don't think we're not transparent. We just could find we got to find the ways to get it out there so people can see it. And that's our big secret sauce. How are we going to do that? Because there's nothing that we're hiding nor want to hide, so.
Can hide.
Yeah. Sustainability, achieve energy and water conservation targets. That's maybe along that water one we talked about. Economic accountability, achieve a 20% reduction in economic waste. So our own Doge department, if you will. But anyway, I won't go into that.
Economic waste, maybe you ought to maybe cut that to like budget waste or,
I think we could define that much better.
yeah, economic waste. is
20%, that's a big cut.
What that means.
Over 5 years.
4% a year.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe. We can talk about those numbers later, but connect to nature, establish walking and biking trails, community heritage, organize cultural events, and a welcome program. And then I put in here the Healthy Community Award. Anything else in there?
Is that it?
Oh,
Okay, well, now that we have the right document going, we'll start working. If you'll work with your staff on those last two,
Got it.
and maybe they can help us establish, especially like Paul could really help us with these, what are some good detailed goals on roads, water, culinary, secondary, sewer? You know, his department can really help us out a lot with that on,
Absolutely.
you know, where can we put a dashboard and where can we go from here, so.
Yep.
Okay, and then as soon as we get that information back from you, we'll build this document, and then Bo and I will put that town hall together, and we'll get the community together, have a talk about these goals, and then we'll start to finalize them, and then get ourselves a dashboard and get going. Sound good?
Perfect, yeah. One of the things I wanted to speak to just really quick is the idea that we have hired now 2 different kind of public outreach companies, for lack of a better term, to help us, consultants to help us with that particular piece. I just had a meeting earlier today with Jessica, with Bear River Live, to kind of coordinate those efforts. And then we're going to try to, I emailed Zach earlier, I know he's busy, about setting up a possible meeting between Blackthorn and Jessica and some of the staff to
Yeah.
really iron out exactly what sphere they're going to play in. My initial goal is, or my initial thought is that the Blackthorn folks will do the social media piece and produce small little 30-second to 3-minute type little vignettes, and then they either point to the longer videos that Bear River Live does, or the Bear River Live stuff stands on its own. So either way, the idea is to kind of coordinate those efforts and really get that transparency piece locked down so that everyone knows what's going on in the city. We've got a social media presence that's active and interesting and growing, and yeah, just getting that word out.
You know, and something that concerns me is this feeling that's been going around, that it just this contempt between everyone. And I wonder if there's not somewhere where we couldn't try to set a goal to, maybe if we're doing all this stuff, it will just resolve a lot of that.
I think so.
You
I think
think?
you're right. And I think that transparency is the name of the game, and when it comes to things like that, and the only way to build trust is to be transparent. That holds true in any relationship and in any community. So if we're going to do that, if that's our goal, is to pursue that kind of transparency and build that trust, I think we're on the right path.
And do you guys feel good with that goal of that transparency?
Yeah, we've been transparent, so.
I understand that.
Even more.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I don't know how we can do
push it out
more,
there
but-
As much as we can.
Yeah,
Keep trying to find other ways.
other ways, yeah. Maybe what we're doing is not quite working. We think that it is, but I don't know. But Mayor, we need to take fight. Mr. Mayor? Mr. Mayor? Yo-hoo, Mr. Mayor.
What's that?
Can we take a break before 7?
Yes, yes, we can. Are you finished?
Let me reword that.
Wes is out.
The 24th is important. There's something important.
But I don't know
Well,
who's
it's
gonna do
a little after 7 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started here. We'd like to welcome everybody out here this evening to our city council policy session. We're grateful that you're here, and I wish I could promise you a fun-filled, exciting evening this evening, but I don't know that I can do that except for the awards that we're going to be giving out in just a few minutes. But anyway, we start this session off with an opening prayer. I'm going to offer that. And then I've asked Councilman Eastep if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Father in heaven, as we come before thee at this time, we're thankful for the blessings which we have. We're grateful for the opportunity of being citizens of this community. We're grateful for the opportunity to interact with each other and to be able to discuss matters pertaining to the welfare of our community. We're grateful for those that serve, for our police and our firefighters, and those that help us with when we have an emergency. We're grateful for them. We're grateful for the moisture that we have received. We understand how important it is, and we ask for thy spirit to be with us this evening as we discuss these matters, and do it in a way that might be pleasing unto thee. This we say in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Would the audience please rise and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance after me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have several people here that are not regulars, so I'm going to take this opportunity and just kind of introduce our council to you. We have over here to my left, your right, we have our city manager, Bill Kobabe, and then we've got up on the dais here, we've got Bo Lewis, and then Blair Westergaard, Lyle Vance, myself, Brett Rohde, and Wes Eastep as your council members, and we're just grateful for their service that they offer, and I think it's important for you to know who your city leadership is. Council, do we have any conflict of interest with any of the agenda items this evening? No. Hearing none, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Council?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as written.
I second.
Motion by Lyle Vance and seconded by Blair Westergaard. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes for February 4th, 2025. Council, did you have an opportunity to review those, and are there any changes or anything we need to make on the minutes?
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Wes and seconded by Bo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Sean, do we have everybody here?
Yep.
Okay. We'll start, maybe while Sean's coming up here, we've got firefighters Mark Thompson, Sean Jensen, and Javier Munoz?
Munoz.
Munoz, thank you. And our Police Sergeant Chad Heyman, who is here also. Sean?
Okay. I'm going to do Mark's today, and then I'm going to let Andy do Javier's, and then whoever's up can do mine. Blair got dealt that card. So Mark isn't here, but I still want to recognize him. 45 years. Mark started in January of 1980. He's been our EMS battalion chief for, I'm not positive, about last 8 or 9 years. He's been the EMS captain for many years prior to that. On our helmets, we carry a badge number. It's on our shields of our helmet, and he carries the number of 83.
And so the 83 represents, he was the 83rd person hired by Tremont City in the fire department. So he's 83. So, I mean, that's down the road a ways, so. What are we up to, Sean, now? We're
205.
205. So, yeah, there's been quite a few, in between there, so. The one thing I'd really like to say about Mark is, throughout these 45 years of service, he has been a dedicated fireman for them 45 years, and to have a 40-hour-a-week job and do this, but on top of that, I commend him for 45 years of dedicated service. So on behalf of me and the rest of the guys on the fire department, we do appreciate him and all of his sacrifices and everything he's done for the city and the department, so.
Have him come up. Yep. Javier, come on up here. All right. So this is Javier. He's one of our firefighter paramedics. We are recognizing him tonight for 5 years of service to Tremont City. So on here, there's a list of 15 questions that they can answer. They get to pick 3 of them. He chose 3, so one of them was, what have you gained from working for Tremont City? I can't read some of this because he's a paramedic. He thinks he's a doctor, so their handwriting is really bad. So says friendships, different types of experience that you won't get elsewhere, and being able to achieve his paramedic license, which he did last year. And he was the first one that Tremont sent through that program and successfully completed. So then the next question was, what is a fun fact about you? This one, he says his pinky toes don't touch the ground. They just kind of hang out there when he doesn't have shoes on. So kind of a fun, weird fact about Javier. And then, the last one is, what is your dream vacation spot? It's anywhere that has beach and sun. Also just tells us a little bit about you as well. So Javier was born in Costa Rica, moved to the U.S. at a very young age. Yeah, he's married, has a beautiful wife of 7 years, and then has 2 dogs as well. So congrats on your 7 years, Javier.
So Sean, you got to come back up there so you can stand there. So, and I'm not prepared, but I think I'm going to do it justice. So Sean Jensen's been with the Tremont Fire Department for 30 years. His wife Laura, and I think everybody's got to realize, if they're a good firefighter, and especially in the old days, the volunteer or whatever days, if your wife's not behind you, your family, then you're only as good as that, because you can't feel bad about leaving. So 30 years with the city, but he started in Garland, the fire department. He's a second-generation fire member. He worked 20 years part-time for Box Elder County too, or just over 20, as a fire warden, assistant fire warden for the county. He works for Northrop Grumman as a firefighter, as a captain. He's been a captain with Tremont for I don't have a thing, at least 10 years. Obviously, he's been picked with Andy to be the co-chief while we're without. Really dedicated, has been forever. Drops everything to do whatever it takes, and he even doing it today. So, great accomplishment for 30 years, but it's been nice to know you, and you've done a really good job for our city.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Okay, Chief, do you want to give this to
I would love to.
Chad?
Come on up here, both of you. You go ahead.
Okay, so this is Sergeant Chad Heyman. Chad's been with Tremont for 20 years now. Before that, he actually served as a reserve for a while for the city. How many years? 2 years, so 22 years, and then with Washington Terrace as well. Chad is currently our detective sergeant. He's been in there for about the last year, which this is his favorite position that he's had in his law enforcement career. Chad has been patrol officer, K-9 officer, detective, narcotics officer, and then I believe DARE as well, DARE officer. Couple things about Chad is with these questions, he said number 4 was, what do you do in your spare time? Chad says in his spare time, he spends it with his family, camping, fishing, hunting, and get beat up by his son, who thinks he's a professional wrestler. So that kid in the front row right there, you don't want to mess with. So, if Chad was to win the lottery, the first thing he would do is fill his truck up with gas and take his family on a long trip. And then what's on his bucket list, and that would be to play quarterback for Nebraska Cornhuskers. But these are his own words. But since I'm no longer able to do that due to age and fear of getting killed by huge defensive linemen, I want to go to a Nebraska football game in Lincoln, Nebraska. So Chad's been a great mentor of mine. I got the privilege of riding with him for my first 2 months of my career, which was hell for both of us. So, but no, he's selfless. He's a great teacher and someone I look up to and admire. So just want to thank you for your service to the city. See you.
Want to also express my gratitude to these 4 employees and to all of our employees. We appreciate all of your efforts so much. You do a lot for our community and make it what it is today, that we all enjoy today. And sometimes your jobs are so well done that we don't even know you do them. Speaking of Public Works, when they're doing their job right, we don't even know. And so we appreciate their efforts so much. Let's see. Our next section is public comments.
The word presentation.
Award presentation.
Oh, the award presentations. Let's see.
So in the fire department, we, as firefighters, get awards all the time. But we come together and we've decided that we want to recognize people outside of the fire department as well. So I received a letter a few months ago and I've talked with some of the fellow firefighters I work with, and we all agree that this award is very deserving. So I'll read the email. It says, "It is with great enthusiasm that I nominate Officer Lee Sorensen." Lee Sorensen, can you come up here, please? Of the Tremont and Garland Police Department for this year's Tremont Fire Department Distinguished Service Award. Officer Sorensen has demonstrated unwavering dedication and support to our fire and EMS units during incidents. His proactive approach and readiness to assist in challenging situations have made a significant impact on our ability to serve the community effectively. Always a team player, Officer Sorensen consistently goes above and beyond, often anticipating needs and stepping in to lend a helping hand wherever is required. His professionalism, calibration, and commitment of excellence set a shining example of interdepartmental cooperation. We are honored to work alongside Officer Sorensen and believe this award would be fitting recognition of his outstanding contribution. Lee Sorensen.
I don't know if this is proper or not, but I'm extremely humbled by this tonight. Let me tell you guys, I got into this profession as an EMT firefighter. These guys are my heroes, okay? Every single one of them out here is my hero, and the reason I gotta say this is I'm nervous as all get out, so this is a plaque that I carry in my car. I've carried it my 14-year career. And it says excellence on it. And if I don't read it, I'm going to mess it up. There is no higher honor than human service. To work for the common good is the greatest deed. I strive to do that every day. These guys are the ones who buoy me up each and every single day that I may be able to do that. this, I humbly accept this on their behalf because they're the ones who deserve that distinguished medal, because they're the ones who pull me along. Thank you very much.
Lee,
Yeah.
let's get a picture. You want to come up and?
You about went through the wall, Lindsay. Backing up.
With all those who have sat in a class with me and Lynette and received your EMT or advanced EMT, please stand. Go ahead, Josh, you were in one. Yes, these guys are what give us this award tonight. Some of them have surpassed my level of training and become paramedics, and I'm so grateful for their desire to continue in public service. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Lee. And thanks to all of you. We appreciate you guys, and we appreciate all of our employees so very much, and for your accomplishments, and you just make this town a better place for all of us. Public comments. This is your opportunity to address the city council regarding your concerns or ideas. We're asking you to keep your comments to within 3 minutes, and the time is now yours.
I'm sure you don't know who I am.
Jed.
I'm Jed Abbott. I just wanted to just take a quick second, that's all. You've got an ordinance you're gonna try to pass tonight on what is considered to be a veteran from the area. You really need to look at that and rewrite it because it's worded incorrectly, I think. You're saying that you've got to live in the county or in the city when you
In the valley.
in the valley when you go in the military. What happens to the guy that stays here for 18 years and goes off to college? Is he not eligible? You know, that puts him ineligible. And I think he should be eligible because he's born and raised here.
We,
So there's just a couple things like that that I really think before you,
we need to get together because I've talked to John about this, and I think there's some rewording that needs to
yeah,
be done.
there's a
So,
lot of rewording. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Public comment period is over. New council business, discussion and possible action on adopting resolution number 25-04, authorizing West Liberty Foods LLC to discharge to the Tremont City Public Owned Treatment Works, a POTW. Anyway, Paul?
Yeah, this is just a standard renewal of their agreement, pre-treatment agreement. If you remember a few months back, we did one from Malto Mill, which would have been in last year's, but they're required to, within 6 months of the expiration, to file for one. So I just, when they filed, we worked it out. They didn't want any changes, need any changes. So it'll be just carrying forward the same agreement in the future. And that way we get it out of the way. It won't become inactive until their other one expires in the end of June. So that way they still get another 3 years. So.
All right. Questions for Paul?
I got one, Paul. Have they been falling within those parameters?
Yeah, lately they're really good. I mean, every once in a while they'll have a violation, but probably in the last year, they might have had 1 or 2 violations. And then they pay that penalty that we attach to their bill. But,
Does it
yeah.
mess us up bad down at the
No, no.
wastewater treatment plant?
No, we don't even see it. We just know it because we sample every day. And how it works is by our pre-treatment agreement, we have the right to go in and get a sample from the sampler every day. They have a right to, they can send it to a private lab, or they can work through our lab. All of our industries use our lab because that way, so we get it, we pick which day we run, and we'll run 2 samples a week. That's how they're billed, and that's how they're fined if they exceed the limits there. So,
Do you have any concerns with
no,
renewing?
no, they come a long way since they opened their doors in '07. Let's just say that. And they've put their pre-treatment in, and it usually keeps things pretty good. Every once in a while, they'll have a hiccup, just like every once in a while, Post will have a hiccup, and they'll have an exceedance, but they do real well. So,
Seems to be working good then.
yeah.
I make a motion that we adopt resolution number 25-04.
Motion by Lyle Vance. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Wes. See, Wes, we'll start with you.
West Eye.
Brett, aye.
Lyle Vance, aye.
Blair, aye.
Bo, yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Still
Thanks,
can't
Paul.
figure out if we're eyeing or yesing.
Okay, discussion and possible action on adopting resolution number 25-05, approving a professional services agreement with Landmark Design to update parks, trails, and open space master plan that was previously previously completed as part of the 2023 Blue Mountain City Integrated Land Use Plan. And Jeff and Zach.
Yes. Thanks, council. For years, we've talked about our park systems and a lot of things and our needs. But last council meeting, we talked, I mentioned the wellness survey that was presented. And that opportunities for youth was a major portion of that. That 82% of the community that took the survey feels that we need more opportunities for youth. With that, I've been talking with Sam about our needs and what we do need in the community from our integrated land use plan and how outdated it already is in 2 years. Since 2022, when it was presented to the council, we're already, instead of 2025, we're in 2032 when it comes to where we should be. So our level of service has decreased. So working with Sam, we've put together a proposal to find out our needs, what we need in the future, what we're deficient in, plus what our current facilities are set up to handle, and the conditions of those current facilities, so we can have a plan to move forward to update our park systems. In this proposal, we will do a needs assessment where we'll partner with OnPoint Insights to conduct surveys and other public involvement to get their input and their opinions on what they feel that the community needs and what the community is lacking. Then phase 2 would be to conduct existing facilities conditions assessment and evaluate existing facilities to identify areas for improvement. Then we'll update the integrated land use plan from 2022 to today with more plans from the future. And update our level of service distribution, where we should plan new parks in the future, and where the population is currently being served and how we can better serve those residents. And then the last part would be park standards, concept plans, and cost estimation. So working with Sam, we feel that before we start things with the parks. We know our needs on a grand scale, but to get their input on more of what they would like to see. We know we're a very heavily sports oriented community. So finding exactly what they would like to see within those sports and going forward, plus within our parks that will best meet the needs of our residents.
Back, I got one question before you get much farther. During your survey, can you put in there, how much are you willing to pay? What's your gap that if we needed to raise 10 million for, a down payment on this building or whatever, are people willing to pay for what we know we need it? We know and we know you're gonna get grants and things like that. But can you put that in your survey to ask people if they're willing to pay
I believe so.
more in taxes?
Ron Gailey with On Point Insights. He's the one that Van Mark will partner with. He's done several of these, so I'm assuming he's already done something like that in the past that he can just rely off of and pull from. But I'll make a mention that we want to know those facts as well, for sure.
Zach, can you give us a quote on how much this would cost?
Yeah, so it is quite a large project. It'll be over 9 months. Not over 9 months. It'll be 9 months until they can give us deliverables. He has it broken down. Right there.
That's the total.
Yep. So the total over everything would be right around $40,000 to get us to an updated master plan as we go into the future. This is what we need to look forward into doing. Our last master plan was done, open space and trails master plan was done in 2011. And every 6 years or so is when they should kind of be done, but we haven't done it since then. The last needs assessment, as I mentioned in the last meeting, I don't know if we've ever had one. So that's significantly important, as well as the existing facility condition report. I feel both are very needed moving forward. So we have a plan as we go forward in our park system. So it is 40,000. As talking with Sam, we kind of refined some of that, got it down from 42. The surveys and the public involvement with On Point Design is not included in that. So I believe that'll be another 10,000 total. But that's for a full report and full update to the integrated land use plan and a full parks, open space and trails master plan as we go forward. So, any other questions?
So you intend on doing the 40,000?
Yeah, yep.
You think that you ought to be waiting for the pier thing to finalize the goals for how many parks and that type of stuff and until this thing comes out?
Well, part of the goals can say in 2025, come up with this as one of our goals, and then we can drive other goals from this, so it could be built into it.
Yeah, the pier or the piers, like those I think the pillars are separate from this, because this is just a guideline for the future, what we want to do. I think the piers, as we get to where we are in the piers, this is going to help define, okay, this is where we go within that pillar within our park system to help us.
Okay.
And so it's just a guideline that's going to help us with the pillar thing. I don't think
So it's 50 with the 10 where you were talking about?
Yeah. That's an estimation from On Point, from what they did with the downtown survey.
I don't think it was quite that much.
I think it was 6 or 7, but
Yeah, that's going to be max is what that is, that 50,000.
Because it wasn't that much.
Yeah. And Landmark Design and On Point, they work together quite often, so they're very familiar with each other and have done several of these in the past. And they've refined ours so that it's a more reasonable cost than what other cities pay for a massive plan.
Up to that amount is what you're asking.
Yeah, yeah.
If I may too, is where, is the city continues to sprawl out, having this is a guideline, just like we do with the transportation master plan. If it's documented and we say we approve this, it will help as development pushes the city boundaries for us to understand where parks generally need to be located and how many acres the parks need to be. It's a huge plan. I feel this is something we've been nitpicking at over the last few years. But to have one consolidated document that really expresses this, I feel is a huge guidance as we continue to see growth.
Can you clear up the rumors of some of these developers' parks that they was gonna put in are getting smaller?
No. The struggle that we have when developers put in parks is kind of the same that we've seen with the parks the city's looking at with River's Edge and Harvest Acres. Is the majority of the park ends up being for stormwater and is wonderfully absorbent as our soils are around here. That means that you don't quite get that whole useful space. You end up having very wet bottom open space that really isn't malleable or isn't usable for sports or really anything programmable. And so that's kind of the hard part that Zach and I have seen looking at looking at even our concepts for some of our parks to be, is that the majority of them ends up being for stormwater. And I think with this plan, we'd like to be able to identify how many useful acres we need to make parks like Jeannie Stevens or what's another one? North Park, sorry. Where you're able to really use the entirety of the park and not just the corner that isn't a whole.
And another part on that also is our current park system. We don't have a regional park. Jenny Stevens is our only citywide park. And if you go out there and you see on a Saturday how overcrowded it is, because that's our only major park that we can facilitate the soccer that we have going on there or other sports. Right now, we're maxed out on our sport and playing fields. We have,
I read that on here.
let me find, for soccer, 634 participants, all within Jenny Stevens Park, that are going there and participating. That's 52 teams, 73 teams that we have playing there throughout the week. That's not including our other parks that are already using softball at North Park that is year-round, softball and baseball. Meadow Park is occupied by competitive soccer and other outside teams that are going and playing there because there are no other open space around for those things. We have no parks big enough to include all these sports or these things, a regional park that can facilitate bringing in large tournaments or anything that is an economic driver. We have, we're maxed out on just our recreation and how many kids we can bring in for soccer or for flag football or for baseball. We can't host, Jeff knows this firsthand, his team didn't get to play in our adult softball league because adult softball and youth baseball play on the same fields because that's our only fields we have basically, and we can only fit so many people on those. And so we had to cut the line on adult to service our youth because that's where our focus is. So we need just to benefit our current residents and residents who have been here a long time. We need a plan, and this will help facilitate us in a plan moving forward of what can we do to make regional parks, what can we do to make more space for our current residents so that they can continue to participate in these opportunities for youth that we have. But when they want more opportunities for youth, we need to expand our park system to be able to accommodate that. And so that's kind of where we're coming from. Our parks are very small. Again, our level of service is only a 2.5 currently for and sinking still. But a city our size, the estimated or the average, I guess, level of service is a median of 13, which is 13 acres per 1,000 residents. And so when I say we're at 2.5, we have 2.5 acres per 1,000 residents. The average in the nation is 13. Our goal is to make it to 5.5 to 6, which is the lowest quartile that's registered throughout the nation in those. So we're not even halfway to that 5.5 to 6,000 residents per, or acres per 1,000 resident. And that's what we're trying to accomplish by doing this, is give us a plan to move forward on how to become from 2.5 level of service to closer to a 6. And that's our main goal with this, so that we have more opportunities for youth.
So that's 78 acres of park space, if I calculated right.
Of usable park space.
Usable park space.
Yeah.
And currently we have
32, if my memory calls me correctly.
I got a question. I'm sure this plan goes for future stuff, so that they'll look at a spot that at River's Edge or whoever, a place that best suit us or whatever, or what other ground we already have or something.
Yeah, so this can help us determine that this, so in this area, we may want to focus on getting land or purchasing land for a future or something like that. When it comes to Parks and Recreation, we're about conservancy, about equality, and providing recreational opportunities. Those are the three main pillars of Parks and Recreation. So we want to conserve open space for the residents, so they have a place to recreate, to have leisure time, and to be able to have a higher quality of life when it comes to mental health and community wellness and individual wellness. And so that's kind of the pillars that we're aiming for.
One thing we learned at, I think it was the ULCT conference last year, but Farmington has found out that bigger parks, better located, are used more than what are called pocket parks in developments. And so I think there's a lot as we learn from bigger cities of how to plan for these parks and what trends they're seeing, so that we don't have to go through those same lessons. And I think that's one thing we can easily incorporate into this, is taking that message that Farmington and Centerville and Kaysville have shown us and saying, okay, we know that pocket parks don't work, so how do we get bigger chunks so that we've actually got local and community and regional park space as we grow.
Okay, so,
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
so, the basins that we're putting in for, that's still green space and should still count as part of a park.
And it does.
It's just not we can't schedule, I understand that.
Yeah.
Can we not put some good drainage and stuff in there and make those work?
So
The answer is to your left.
So I went to the Davis County facility. They just created the Western Sports Park. It's a $70 million project. It's in a detention basin, and it was $14 million to put in the drainage needed to make that detention basin usable for their sports parks. So we can, but it's going to be.
But on the other side of that, there's no reason that we still can't with some of these subdivisions that have some areas that, like over in your area, they have that one, and they have a little park down inside and all that. And I think that's a great use. Well, I do.
So the park itself, is that what you're talking about?
You can use the playground.
Yeah.
But the grass is so swampy and wet, you don't let your kids run out there.
Well, then-
Water table right there.
And
Well,
probably
the hard part
reprogram.
is that if it's not wet from rain, it's wet from sprinklers.
But it's
So
a
you're
water
try-
table also that
Yeah.
creates that situation.
And so the hard part is you get this wet bottom that's muddy all through the summer. And although it does count as green space, you don't let your kids run out in it because you didn't want to take home a muddy child.
But not always. I see them parks too. You can't say that they're always muddy. Cause I know the guy that waters them and he don't overwater them to be muddy, so.
But the HOA runs that one, where the city runs the other one by the houses. So the HOA one is wet. The one next to the houses that the city runs isn't.
Right.
And people clean that one.
Right, and we can't control them, but we control our pocket ponds.
That's the issue
The
is,
point is
Right.
that it's counts towards his total acreage.
No, they're considered drainage ponds, so they're not considered in park space at all. The only one that's large enough that could be used possibly for anything is on 600 South. But again, we're talking about an acre that the usability of it is going to be a team practicing soccer or something. So when we talk about these retention or detention basins, for it to be purpose, we need 5-6 acres for a park. But the only ones that are that large are having a playground put in it just so it can be called a park already, which are the 3 planned. So if it's large enough, that's definitely true. But without a park, a playground or something like that that makes it a park, then it's just a detention or retention basin that's collecting water. And it's not, talking to Sam, it's not allocated into that. There, like the golf course is a special use open space. So it cannot be used into the level of service because it's special use. It costs you, there's certain reasons why you can go on there or not. It's not open for the public just to go on and recreate and have leisure time. If we set up a specific acre or a detention basin that it serves a purpose that is for leisure, I bet we could do that. But again, we're talking about 1 acre when we need 7, yeah. Which is easier altogether in one big thing.
Thanks, you two. Thanks for filling us in on this. I guess we have a resolution on the table right now.
Where's the money coming from?
Special revenue fund for parks.
If we got it, was it built into the budget?
There's money in there, impact fees and, yeah, that Curtis said we could use.
I'll donate my salary.
Yeah.
You donate yours. Okay. I make a motion that we approve resolution 25-05.
Motion by Wes, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Blair. Let's see, Brett?
Brett, aye.
Lyle Vance, aye.
Blair, aye.
Bo, aye.
West Eye.
Motion passes. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, you two.
we're not going anywhere.
Oh, I know you're not, but you're doing this one. Okay, discussion and consideration of approving resolution number 25-06, approving the concept plan for development of the Tremont and City Sports Complex. Now we really get to get into the fun stuff. Okay,
And I think we need to define that we're just going over a concept plan. We're not going over any kind of financing or anything like that right now.
Correct. This is just a concept that was created with the needs that we currently have, that we can have something to put into the master plan when it, and needs assessment when that comes available. That's what we're looking to explore.
I did put a schedule together today, and I shared it with Lindsay. To kind of show. So the goal of approving this concept plan is that the next step would be to get an architect, bids from an architectural company to do what's called a feasibility study. They'll put together some interior renderings. They can see how much space the concept plan can serve. They'll also get into better detail about what the building uses are and how the square footage and if it matches and what changes. The guy that drew the concept plan isn't very good with what happens in the building, but he's really good about things outside of the building. And knowing that this is going to be a healthy sum of funding, the recommendation, or I guess that we're asking for is to, I guess, work with Sam and put a RFP together to get bids for a feasibility study. When we did this with the rec center last year to go to the school district, it was about 10 grand, so not an exorbitant amount. But this is kind of the guideline and the timetable I pictured if we really just went forward with this as fast as generally possible. So that's it. And talking with Zach, we feel like this space could be used to help facilitate some of the needs for local competitive sports tournaments and leagues. That would help free up spaces at like Stevens Park and Meadow Park. We hope that there's enough space here to be able to host tournaments, which brings in quite a bit of sales tax. I know I've healthily contributed through my teenage years to the sales tax revenue of St. George, having played multiple baseball tournaments down there for 6 years. So this is part of the master plan, but I feel with the location, this could move forward on creating a good space for our youth to grow and to increase their competition. On the inside, one thing we emphasized was trying to create enough space that we would be able to host tournaments indoors well with the basketball courts and with the turf. I know there's some of our city members that end up driving to South Weber or to Logan multiple times a week for basketball, and they never have any of their tournaments or games here in town. So for a town that's as heavy on sports as we are, I feel like this could fall under the saying, if we build it, they'll come.
How big is this building? How many square feet?
Do you have
the drawings up there, the rendition, but it didn't have any square footage on it that I could see.
I think when I looked at it, it was if you go to the north, I think it was like 260,000 square feet. With all
Is it one long building, or is it like that third section? I didn't know where it fit.
So the long corridor that has the turf, and then can you pull up the
Trying to find which one it is.
feasibility plans, or go to the type of in there?
250,000.
So I'll clarify too that the way you've drawn this up is modular so that it can all be worked on in phases. It's not one giant project. It doesn't have to be. So but knowing the funding and then working, is knowing what the end vision is of the space and then working, one project at a time in sequence based off the results that we get in October. We'll have that feedback coming back at us to know exactly what our priorities should be. And also we can start seeking grants now based off the vision of what it is. But then, and working back into the funding, because funding, you have to have the money, right? So by having the vision, having the space, the determined end game, and then it's all modular. So you could do just the turf field or just the ice sheet, depending, because I know there's already junior pro hockey teams that want to come to Tremont and et cetera. So what is the sequence of events based off of the demand, and what's going to drive the economics, and what's fundable, right? So
Is there any?
What was your number, Lyle?
62 million.
62, are we close?
We don't know what it's gonna cost, and that's why we wanted to get a feasibility study done, because honestly, there isn't a building in Utah that really matches this that's been constructed any recently that we could compare.
I'd imagine
That's
you
what I
could-
was asking it, because sometimes you don't have to get the,
The Weber County
Start
one
from
was
square
built
one.
ages ago. And that's the only one, that's the only building I know of in Utah that's got both turf and hockey. So that's why we wanted to get the feasibility study done, so we would have at least a ballpark done by professionals that we could
Yeah.
lean into.
You got an area where you want to put this?
This
Or
is
that just all?
the 19 and a half acres the city owns over on 2000 West.
Right off the freeway.
And again, it could start with just the soccer fields and football fields, and then move, and then pickleball makes sense next, or, you know, so if it's planned out in a certain way, it could be done in phases. It's not all, it's not a $62 million bill tomorrow,
Well,
because
it's a health situation. I wonder if IHC would be willing to be more amiable to letting us put it in right there at the end of the golf course and where everything's at in Tremont.
Even to the west side of their property, they want just west of them for expansion, but they still have that another, you know, they still got a little bit more west that, how many
You're
acres?
Keeping it all in the same.
Gotta have
area.
about 20?
My concern in having talks with IHC is how far along the city has to be with answers before we can go to them with support. I think it'd be easier to ask for them to help donate to this. But when you start talking about leasing or building on their land, it becomes, to just my feeling from the discussions, it becomes a little bit hairier than I think we want with a facility like this.
I agree, because that's where we were at when we last
Right.
left the discussion. But if you're putting in a health facility, they might be more amiable to let it go.
And their question is, how's it gonna benefit them? Like, what do they get out of it? Because,
Healthy people.
well, and that's might not what they want. That's
broken out.
Ain't for their business model.
It's not good for their
Broken
business.
collarbones.
bones.
But the other side of that, you look at Smithfield and Intermountain helps to contribute to that complex at the high school. And so I think they'll reach further than their property.
Yeah, I think that needs to be at least explored.
100%, and I think there's, you know, if you're talking to Still Building, there's a specific, large company in Box Elder County that has been generous in past that I know we can go talk to about this, but those are questions for generally down the road, because we can't go to Nucor unless we have a building plan.
They've been very, very, very generous to Box Elder County.
So the way I kind of view this being able to be constructed is that that line on the west side of the basketball courts that splits the soccer field, that would be the modular break between each of these. And so that would really be your wall of divide. So you could start with the basketball courts, for example, and as funding became available for the turf field, you can go construct that without any kind of negative impact to the soccer courts, because you're just building it and then putting the doors in when the time comes. The thing that will help most with the modular construction though is if we can design this as one piece. And that way as the funding becomes available, it's not how do we design this new piece, you just look at the plans and say, okay, let's go. And that means that we're gonna have a little bit better uniformity for connectivity, for, you know, accessibility for storage needs, you know, making sure doors and fire exits are shared or communal on. So that was the idea around this, was trying to be able to put this so we can take bites off at a time as the city has funding, or as we get, you know, private sponsorships and grants.
So it all fits out there? I mean, if
If
that's the spot.
The guy that
designed
drew this
around it.
may have been able to import the GIS parcels from the county website and draw across those. So there's a lot of there's some flexibility around the perimeter, because those parcels should be taken, they're close, but I wouldn't call them the most 100% accurate. So which is why there's flexibility around the side to, you know, move things as we'd have to. But
I would add locationally too, the thing that makes sense to me from an economic development perspective, which I've been asked to start participating in is, I think about all the times I'm out with my kids every weekend. I'm at sports facilities, and straight across the street or building around, everywhere around me is food, right? Dining opportunities. And so if we can set this vision, it's a lot easier for me to walk over to the next Zupas and talk them into coming, because of this is our long-term vision of where we're headed. So from an
What's west of that,
From-
them power lines? People don't want to build underneath them, that big power line. So think ahead just a little on that.
You're saying just across the street?
Just to the west of the.
Just to the west, on 2000 west, you got them.
But would they
Transmission
care
lines.
about a business being under the power line? Is
I
that
think
a
you'd
thing?
end up having your parking out front, and normally they're fine if you're parking or your green.
I mean, I can see a
spaces.
house.
They do have a little bit of a concern if your building's underneath it, because they can't access, it makes accessing and servicing them more difficult, but having that power corridor there.
Power lines to
inside-
the west side of the road.
Yeah, it's a pretty major one.
It's
but-
freeway us, 2000 power line going to the west.
But I've designed under power corridors like that, and it's where you put your green space or your ponds.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
And just
Be great.
for fun, add this thought, it would be nice to have the ice rink seen from the freeway. Just so that it would,
It'll melt in the summer if you can see it from the freeway. You can have a
Swimming pool.
It's indoor.
building over
It's
it.
indoor, so,
Have you designed a swimming pool into this?
no.
I want to caution that a swimming pool is a great big hole that you throw money in, and they, yeah.
A lot of people think that is a big hole that you throw money into.
Well, it's not doing anything for us now.
But a swimming pool, Brigham Swimming Pool does really well, but I know what you mean. But it's trying to get everybody else on board. People around here hate what I didn't think we needed the fairgrounds, okay? I thought that was a big waste of money, the big buildings and all that, but you can see now the money that brings in.
Exactly.
Great idea, glad that's where it's at, but this, I hope, down the road's the same thing.
Absolutely.
So,
Council, this plan right here kind of meets the needs that we currently have, and it doesn't really reach out to our future either. That's why,
Currently, junior jazz,
yeah,
you
we're
can't bring on more teams. Is that true?
unless we go to 6 o'clock at night or so. We're already playing until 3, 4 o'clock in the evening in 7 gyms with how many participants we have. So
Soccer.
Not only with that, we're trying to compete with every single competitive soccer team, competitive lacrosse team, with the school district itself, and every sport team that they have, trying to compete for the same indoor space for the same things. And so when we have 6 courts here, then we don't have to get kicked out of the fairgrounds every other week when we're trying to host a pickleball league, but we can't because it's not our facility. But we can't get enough weeks in a row to be able to run a successful league. That means 90 people every week are displaced out of our league, and we can't grow it anymore, but there are more people that want to participate just because we don't have the space. And so this meets our current needs, but as we look at our other parks, we need to start looking at our future needs that we have coming as well. And so that's where this other plan also helps with that.
So what we have right now on the docket is the approval of the concept plan for the development of the Tree Mountain City Sports Complex. Council, do we have any other questions on any of this? You guys have done a great job of explaining, and we appreciate.
I didn't see a cost on it. Oh,
So that's what this is just a.
not on the building, for this,
The concept plan.
the concept.
Yeah, so this is to go out and explore so that we can find costs and everything. So this is just getting your approval to move forward with trying to figure things out.
But there's no dollars and cents associated other than in-house.
Not at this
30%
point.
plan.
The next step would be to, if you guys approve the concept plan, would be to go out and get, would be to prepare an RFP or a request for proposals from architectural firms to create a study that would show a rough cost estimate for the whole complex.
But broke out in,
That broke out
Modular, different phases.
Modular
Yeah.
and how much. And the other thing is they'd be able to do some interior renderings because, as I said, the guy that drew this isn't very good with the inside of the building. So there's a lot of really rough assumptions for the clear space around the side.
And location.
But I think a lot of the interior also is gonna come from the needs assessment of what the community wants. This is just what we currently need, the amenities and everything else, and how the design can come from.
You gotta have a
needs.
place for people to watch.
Yeah,
Yep.
and so that's one of the things is getting an architect involved so that we can design seating and we can design some interior, concessions and walking paths and how does the interior of the building function? And then generally, what is that going to cost?
All right.
Good.
I'll make a motion that we approve adopting the resolution number 25-06. And I want to change this, looking into the approval concept plan for development of the Tremont City Sports Complex. This is not the final approval. This is just looking into the concept.
I second it.
Have a motion by Lyle with some modifications, and second by Blair. Lyle?
Lyle Vance, aye.
Blair, aye.
Bo, aye.
West side.
Brett?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, too. Great job. And,
Tax on for one more.
taking the time to put all this together for us and these concept plans and everything. And look forward to hearing what you have to offer. Finally, we have discussion, possible action of adopting ordinance number 25-02, amending the revised ordinances of Tremont City, Title 8, City Property, Chapter 8-750, Veterans Memorial at Midland Square, and Part 8-754, eligibility. And we've got, I think as we've gone through this, I think there's some things we need to revise or look at a little closer on the eligibility, but why don't you go ahead, Zach, and
Yeah.
show us what you got.
So, last council meeting, Mr. Abbott brought a list of names, and I was going through our list of names that we had just recently updated the plaque with back in 2022 to see if they were on the plaque. I found that I could find all but three that are currently on the memorial. But within that search, I came across the bylaws that were, I'm assuming, with the original committee that worked on the Veterans Memorial. And in it, there was a contradiction to our current ordinance. In talking with, I talked with John, who is the Legion Post commander, and because our goal is to continue to update the plaque with new names of all veterans that have served. And so he brought this, pointed out that there's a contradiction here. And I felt that for the sanctity of the Northern Box Elder County Veterans Memorial, we should follow the original bylaws rather than having it be to anyone that has ever lived in the Bear River Valley. And so that was my proposal, was to move forward with following the original bylaws and how it was stated of those persons who have lived in the North Box Elder County at the time they joined the military service while living in said county. And so that's what my proposal is. There may be some discussion I hear from the council, though. So.
I think that one of the issues, if I understand them correctly, is that there ought to be some kind of an appeal process, because you're going to have people that perhaps lived here, were born here, or they never graduated from high school, but they were born here. There's all kinds of different options, and so there maybe needs to be some sort of an appeal process. One, and John indicated that, maybe some of, some of what we were thinking about, maybe a little bit too open or a little too easy to qualify. And then, we might be looking at some areas where we might be a little, be too restrictive. So I suggest that we take a little more time and sit down with the veterans and make sure we get what they feel like we need to do, and keeping in mind what the original bylaws we're talking about too. We don't want to reinvent the wheel, but we ought to maybe look at this maybe appeal process or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I would suggest, is taking just a little more time to work this through and then make sure we get it right.
Yeah, we want to get this right. We also want to collect the names and continue to get those names. So we need to get this right before we continue on with another search for new names. So that's our first priority.
So an example might be, I have an uncle, and he served in World War II, but he graduated from high school in Bear River, but after college, he moved over to Logan, and that's where he spent the rest of his life. Somebody like that would qualify because he was born here and graduated from Bear River High School and that kind of thing. But then we have another example of somebody that lived in Texas, and their posterity moved up here, but they want to make sure that, they have their grandpa or whoever is listed on there. And that might be the other extreme that we need to maybe somebody like that doesn't qualify where they were, even though the posterity is here now.
Right. I think it's trying to keep the sanctity of the.
I'm having a hard time understanding where, that's pretty specific. What's wrong with that? I'm sorry.
This current one? That's the current one says veterans that are living or have lived in the northern Box Elder County.
Yeah, aren't they saying the same thing?
No, this you have to have lived there when you joined the military.
Yeah,
At the
that's
time
pretty
they joined.
specific, right? So why don't we just do that?
That's what we're proposing.
Them's the exceptions that we're just talking
Well,
about to the
every
rule.
one of those would be answered by that bylaw that was in
Okay,
there.
let's throw this one in. Somebody marries a wild Tremont woman. He goes into the service, comes home, done his time, gets killed. He's not valid to be on that plaque.
But I think you would never keep it right if I'd showed up and said, oh yeah, I was in whatever, I could lie about it.
They have to put
So
their
there's
number.
a form, they have to provide proof of military service and
I mean,
honorable
it's-
discharge.
It is for, Jed, what do you think's the
Well-
problem?
When you look at it, somebody could move into town, never have been here, move into town at 17, 18, and get drafted, we'll say.
Lindsay?
So they've never been part of the community, they just barely moved in and they got drafted, but they're eligible now. But yet, you take the kid that's grown up, spent his whole life here, and he moves away to go to college.
Or gets drafted, put it in the same concept.
After he moves over to Logan to go to college, he's not eligible the way that's written.
Well, it depends on if you call going to college moved away. I mean,
Well,
really, until you're,
if you're living in Logan or Salt Lake or wherever it may be, you're living there, you're not a resident here anymore.
Is there a reason we limit
Something that kind of covers some of these
the both of them? What's the intent of the plaque?
to have it be somebody from our valley.
Yeah, to have roots here and to have commitment here. But if somebody moves here and they're 70, let's say, but they served, they have their name on 3 other plaques around the country and they want it here again, that's currently what they can do. And I think to preserve the sanctity of it and how it was originally meant to be, it needs to be, current resolution needs to be adopted to this, and maybe with an appeal process or something to try to preserve what it was originally meant for.
My
My son's active and he wants it here. So, and he's in Virginia Beach.
But he grew up here, right?
He grew up here, so
Yeah.
he
I
qualifies.
just go with that kid.
Yeah, he qualifies because he grew up there.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we want, because they're from here, they have roots here. This is, if he left from here, that wouldn't be an issue. But as Jed mentions, if he moved away at 16, 17, 18, then got drafted or joined the military somewhere else, and then never came back.
Are we limited
wants
on
them to be-
space for both?
You can't help what happens. I
Yeah.
mean, not that FICO's ever
Well,
had to lay off.
That one, in my opinion, I just think, I agree with the 7-year-old come from, he's on a plaque somewhere else.
Right, right.
But the guy that went to school or something he's still really, that's where the appeal ought to
And that's what I feel like. Mayor brought up an appeal process. I think if there is an appeal that I was here at my youth, and then we can make an exceptions for those that appeal or have something else. If it's different from,
As long as it's an objective appeal.
yeah.
Not
Just
someone's
organize it,
opinion.
have some kind of an
Start
appeal
with
board.
the
Mhm.
veterans.
Yeah.
That has to be approved by us.
Yeah.
Just make sure it's an objective appeal and you got the right people doing the same thing and it's judged the same all the way across the board. Okay, I'll just make a motion then that we table ordinance number 2502 until we get more information.
I'll second it.
Motion by Brett and seconded by Lyle. Let's see, Blair?
So
probably.
Wait a minute, we got two different conversations here, yeah.
We're doing business now.
It's been tabled.
We'll answer it.
For now.
Well, I agree with the table I or something. Is that what I'm agreeing with?
Yeah. Blair,
It's tabled.
Oh, yes. Aye.
Wes, yes.
Brett, aye.
Lyle Vance, yes, and I.
Let's go back to them guys' question, Mayor. They just wanted to say, who's gonna be on the appeal board? That's something else that will,
We're doing it this
it's gonna be
point.
probably the veterans, and then they'll just approve it, make sure it fits our deal.
And I will make this one suggestion. I don't especially say that it needs to be the American Legion because, okay, John's the commander, I'm the vice commander. It changes. We may be in these positions for 10 years or 20 years or 10 days. Who knows?
The same with us.
Yeah.
So-
Exactly.
So
So,
I think it should be probably a group of
You
veterans.
guys work it out.
We'll work
Right.
it out. That's
We'll
something
work
we-
that out.
Right now it's
It needs to
tabled,
be a
so
group of
for us to
veterans.
do more
Right.
discussion. All right, that completes our new council business. Consent agenda, the adoption of the January warrant register and the adoption of the
questions?
January financial statements. I will make one comment. There has been a question on a couple of items. One was there was a purchase of 600 pounds of ground beef from Bruff Beef LLC. And another one had to do with the kicks.
Gym membership.
We got answers for both of those. The $600 is the food pantry purchases from donations, money that they receive. They purchase ground beef to turn around and give out to the public. And that's what that $600 was spent for. And then the kicks one is, we provide, for our employees, we provide membership to Kicks.
Oh, they
We pay for that
They
upfront.
pay for it.
We pay, well, we pay
Employees
for it
pay
upfront.
Employees pay for it.
Fire department pays for 3 memberships for their on duty.
$155 or something like
We
that.
withhold that from employees' paychecks and
Right.
pay it to kids.
That's what I was gonna say, that money is.
We don't,
withheld.
well, I guess.
We don't pay nobody's gym memberships except
It's
the
just
fire
the
department.
it's just the 3 members, okay.
Comes out of their budget.
Us collecting and passing it on to
Yeah.
kicks from people's
And the
paychecks.
fire department pays that back.
Fire department
out
does
of our
have
budget.
3
No.
for their, no, it does not come out of our budget.
Anyway, those are the only 2 items that came up, and other than that, council, we have a consent agenda.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion by Brett and seconded by Wes. All in favor? Let's see.
Aye. No.
No. Yeah, all in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right, calendar items. Review of the calendar. Okay, we got on the 4th, council meeting next.
That pen goes with it.
Really good. You got a good signature.
Pi Day, that, we're going to, you can just come in here on the 4th and, or in the 14th, and we'll have pies available. Everybody will bring their favorite pie, and it'll be available to everybody on the 14th.
I'll be here for that either.
The League of Cities and
Come in
Towns,
still, we'll let you.
do we have kind of an idea who would like to go down to it this year?
13th
We
to
were
the
asking for an
23rd.
agenda.
Have to get your own pie.
We're asking for
Oh,
an agenda.
We don't have one yet.
They're really slow to put.
I
the
can't make a
agenda together.
decision until I
Till
see
you
the agenda. Yeah.
Anyway, it's there on the 16th to the 18th.
Is it pretty helpful?
Yeah,
It is.
For someone new, it is.
Okay. I'd be interested.
For someone old, it's good too. I
Yeah.
like it.
Sometimes. I've gone times and it was not worth my time.
Depends on which sessions you go to. Some sessions are, you get about 10 minutes out of the hour's presentation, and that's worth going, but some sessions are just gripping and
You do more
Conversations
networking.
you have with everybody, though, the
Right.
networking is.
The networking is huge.
all right.
Agenda
Let's
is
see.
just meals.
Is there any unfinished business we need to discuss?
All they have figured out so far is just meals.
Okay.
Nothing else on their agenda.
Reports, city administration reports.
kind of gave it in the work session before we started, so I don't have anything to add to that, except to say, oh, man, there was something. I'll come back to it.
Okay,
Sorry.
all right, DRC? Anything there? All right. Department head meetings, let's start with you, chief. Dustin?
Yeah, mine will be short and sweet. So we did have an arrest of a child predator. He was on federal probation. He'll be going back to prison. We communicated with them, and they're going to be taking him. So nothing we have to worry about for the foreseeable future. So that was a great result.
Good
The other
work.
thing I wanted, hey, thank you for that. It's all these guys. One other thing I wanted to do is invite the council to attend. It's called a VirTra training. So our entire department has went through this training. It basically will teach you like de-escalation, but for the council as well as city management, it would be a great experience to kind of step into the shoes and see what it's like to make those decisions in a safe environment. It's kind of like the top of the line for police training as far as technology goes, and it's really cool. Is it through the Attorney General's office? Yeah, they've been great to host us for free, and I talked to the guy, he's willing to do that. So if we can fit it in the calendar and make an exception, because I know so many can only get together at a time,
Some things like this, we can all get together.
yeah, I think it'd be awesome. And it's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I think it would really help the council understand the people that you have to make these hard decisions for. I just think it'd be very helpful. And I'm happy to go with you and kind of go through the training once again with you. But I'll throw that out there, and I'll leave it to
Is that
Bill
in
and I.
Salt Lake?
Yeah, it's in Salt Lake, Murray area, just off the freeway. I think the whole thing would probably take 2 hours maybe. Well, 3 for that one, but it's super cool. I mean, you're in a room and you're surrounded by screens. It feels real life. The sound system's amazing. It's just a fun, very immersive experience.
Wearing heat?
Yeah, you will have firearms. They are actually real guns, but they're outfitted with like CO2, so they'll recoil. And then afterwards, they can slow it down and see how quick your reaction, where your shots hit. It's used by the military now as well as law enforcement. So really, really cool stuff. So if we can work it out on the schedule, they'll work with us, and I'll get you in there. But it's a lot of fun. So that's pretty much all for me. Any questions for the police department? Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
Sean or?
Andy and Sean?
We'll make sure it's with you. We don't have anything to report.
I did remember what I was to say, and it was with regard to the fire chief. We, some of the staff got together and reviewed the applications that we've received. We did receive, 12, 13, something like that, applications, and really, really good group of very qualified individuals. And so we kind of narrowed it down to our top 6. Was it 6 we got to?
And so we're excited to kind of get this interview process started with that. We're going to do kind of a short round with some of the staff first, and then we'll open it up to a larger body once we've kind of winnowed through some of we're just trying to narrow it down so it doesn't waste a whole lot of everyone's time. So more to come on that, but just excited about that process and the quality of the applications and resumes that we've received.
Is that it? Yep. Okay, let's see. Carl, you have anything for us?
I'll be pretty quick too. But yes, I do have a few things. Mostly personnel related, good things to report on. Paul reported on the second to the last page of your packets. He's got a report in there for January. Wanted to talk about some employees and the awesome things they do. 2 weeks ago from tomorrow, we had a water line break right in downtown. And it was so cool to watch how all our guys just rally around each other and kind of drop what they're doing to go assist. And they did a fantastic job. Wes may or may not have had a shower from that experience. Anyways, it was actually one of the warmer days, which was good. But, you know, that kind of thing, it was, water was turned off in a very small area and for a pretty short time to be able to fix that. It was great to see that happen. Winter decided to show up. We finally plowed some snow. They plowed twice in that last storm. All the equipment is poised to plow again if we get more snow. I think they do a great job at that. They do neat things like weld a device that can hook into the back of a police truck hitch that can hold garbage cans that are used to collect evidence. I mean, just stuff like that. It's neat to see, you know, interdepartmental help and that kind of thing. I love seeing that. It's so great. We have fantastic people. The work that they do at the cemetery, just making sure that people that have a funeral have a good experience, the burial happens. It's really great work that they do. And we have 3 positions in the Public Works Department that we will be interviewing for starting Thursday. 2 in the Water Department and 1 in the Roads Department. So that's my report. Any questions?
I'm the roads guy.
I didn't say we could replace you, I just
You
said,
can replace me with a warm
Whatever.
body.
thank you.
Thanks, Carl. Let's see, Zach, do you have anything more for us?
Just a quick thing. This past couple weeks, I was able to meet with Bo a little bit about just our department and just talking about Parks and Recreation in general. And last time I mentioned I would like to meet with everyone at some point. Brett, I know you texted me and said you would be available to me. So with this next couple weeks, I think we should get together and have a drink or something of soda, Diet Coke, and just talk about the department and again, hopefully be able to get to all the council members. So
That's it?
that's it for me. Yeah.
All right, Jeff, do you have anything for us? Council reports, Wes?
Nope, last councilman is a full-time employee, so there will be no questions of conflict of interest with me no more.
He said they have nothing to report.
So, other than that, it's great. Carl, you know, a few things. They come down and wanted that garbage can and so they can just go throw it on and take it for evidence. And them guys had it built in 2.5 hours and, you know, they're asking about moving cars and fire department. It's just cool to see the fire and cops. That don't work everywhere, but it works here. And then throw in public works, you know, so. And the office people, that front office probably takes more hell than anybody.
Amen.
So, and they just keep chugging along, but anyway, thanks, everybody.
Just want to recognize all of our great employees doing a great job, and welcome Mayor Bourne here for just her visit.
Absolutely.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, man, I appreciated the beginning of our meeting today, all the service awards and seeing the tight camaraderie that exists here. That's good for all of us to see. I hope that can be conveyed out into into our neighborhoods and that type of stuff. I can talk to Bill after. That's it.
I just, for the fire department, since I'm in there, is I appreciate Andy and Sean. Sean kind of went cruising, but them to step up, and they've had some hard things happen, and they're doing a good job, and so I'd like to thank them and the PD. I really get tired of your stuff because it starts making me think we got this, like, what is going on in our community, but
Thanks for cleaning up.
there's some, for everybody that doesn't know, there's, the real stuff happens here, so it's a little scary in a way.
Yeah, it was good to see some social media too about the statistics that you came up with. And, you know, there was a lot of comments. I actually had somebody even mention to me, hey, did you see that crime's going down? And so I loved seeing that. I think it went through Herald Journal and Tremont Leader. And of course, there's always going to be people that make comments, you know, but I was grateful to see that data get out and talked about. That was one question I had was with Blackthorn Media. Have we started doing some organized? Okay, cool. Let's make sure
Yeah,
we're getting
we-
that deployed and
We've had some meetings with them already. We haven't started content creation with them, but we have some organization set up.
wonderful.
We'll have another meeting on the 24th that hopefully we can collaborate some other things as well.
And will they be presenting to council too on occasion as to game plan, or is that just going to be kind of managed under you and?
Right now, it's just under me. I'm not
Okay.
sure how I think it was reporting to Lindsay, myself. Was that it?
Just 2 cents. I think it'd be valuable for the council to maybe express on occasion what, if we put it as a quarterly agenda item or something, that's things that we think would be important to communicate to the public, just as kind of a cadence that we can keep on top of.
Yep.
Just so that we've got a little bit of input on things we think are, because we're hearing a lot of feedback from the public. And so to be able to voice what we're hearing and what those concerns are, just so that you have, you know, what's
it's helpful,
next?
too, because it
What
helps
should we
us
communicate? Yeah.
Guide our conversation with the public.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's great.
From a financial oversight, a couple of questions I had is just how are we coming on asset schedules? I know Curtis mentioned that you guys were working on kind of an asset schedule for the next 10 years or 5 years or whatever that looks like, right? How is that coming along?
Department heads are supposed to have it to me by the 28th, and we're hoping to have it to you guys by the 18th of March.
Fantastic. Because I think just being able to, you know, all of our budget's going to depend on what we need, just from what your point was, water, and, you know, we've got to know what those look like to deliver those. So,
That asset schedule includes the capital expenditure plan, right?
That is
Yeah.
the capital projects, yes.
okay. And then on the economic development, I would like to put together a steering committee to start helping us guide along the vision for economic development.
At that meeting we have, we could use that as a launching pad
Okay.
to, you know, get some people involved and at least announce it, unless you want to
Okay.
go sooner.
Are there any concerns, or what's the formality? Forgive my ignorance on getting that teed up and started. Or can we move forward?
Together and organize a time and
Okay.
put it together.
Get a roster.
I don't, it depends on a little bit about, you know, I think it's a good thing for the council to be involved with. It's not a big deal to set up a public meeting. We just need to we just need to make advance notice.
Okay.
If this is something that I think it would be good to have everybody here.
We have a tremendous.
It is not a big deal to make it a public meeting. We can do it, we just need to have advance notice to do it.
I disagree. I think one person from the council ought to be on that steering committee and doing it, and the rest of us out of it, or it's not a steering committee, so it's just.
Well, no, I think we're talking about two different things
okay.
here, but I agree with you there.
Okay.
I don't disagree with you there. I'm just saying maybe a town hall meeting sort of thing, it's maybe a nice thing to have involvement.
Yeah, there's two questions going on, your town hall meeting versus economic development.
Right.
Yeah.
Because your question was, what do I need to do? Because it's brand new, Bo. Whatever we do is brand new. And I mean, I have a question in my mind. Do we want to open that up like we were talking about to anybody, paying a incentive to bring business in or not? I mean, I think we need to go down that road and
I think the
discuss it.
city manager should be at the top of that list.
There you go.
I'm just kidding. No, I think it's a great idea, and because any effort that results in a more diversified tax base and a broader scope of businesses and things in town, that can't help but be beneficial.
So if you have your town hall meeting, I mean, my mind goes, well, what is it that you're going to open up to discuss with people?
Yeah, I think he could get started on it immediately if he wanted, right?
What do you mean, paying incentives?
That he could get him on his steering committee.
So the idea of a steering committee would be to bring together a lot of talent that's in the valley. We have a lot of good businessmen that can help us formulate and build an economic development plan.
Without incentives. I mean,
Without incentives. Yep. We're gathering together the talent that we have in the valley that will help us create the vision of economic development for the town. How are we going to increase sales tax? How are we going to lure business here? How are we going to, and that group of talent is able to, some of them may be successful businesses, but it gives us the ability to create the vision and the strategy around how we're going to lure businesses in. That's the idea.
Sounds good to me.
Brilliant.
Could we just let Bo run with that?
No, I think you ought to.
Come back and report to us what's going on.
Pick them and pick that.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm going to get rolling on economic development steering committee then. And then I'm also going to be meeting with Bragg and a couple of developers. So that,
Be involved.
well, I think you were mentioned to set up those meetings. So I just really think we have such an opportunity to capitalize and lure businesses in. We're coming up on the 22,000, 25,000 mark in the general area. That's going to give us that ability to start luring in some of those people that we're on the brink of not wanting to. And as part of that, I don't know, I'd love to work with Garland and the mayor over there on certain initiatives so that we're not, so that this whole valley is 1 + 1 is 5. We have so much opportunity here. So,
Rising tide.
yeah, yeah, all ships rise together.
That's right.
So, including Parks and Rec, and I don't know what all we have done with Garland, but I think there could be a lot of synergy there. So thank you for being here today. Love having you here. That's all I have.
Over the last little while, I've been kind of going through our financial statements and working with Curtis, come up with sort of a pie chart of where our money comes from for the general fund, not including all of the other capital funds and enterprise funds that we have, but just the general fund, and where our money comes from and where our money goes. And just briefly, I'll just run through. We have about equal parts of our revenue comes from property tax and sales tax, almost half and half. So 20 of that pie, 28% is property tax, 27% sales tax, and we have energy and franchise taxes that we collect on, and that's about 10%. Intergovernmental transfers, so we receive money from the state, from other governmental entities, from the county and so forth. That's about 13% of our revenue sources. Licenses and fees, not quite as much, maybe about 8%, and community services, and then miscellaneous, about 3%. And where does our money go? Public safety is number one. So you guys, it takes a lot of money to make sure that our community is safe. General government.
What percentage public safety?
You know, you say that, and for some reason I lost.
Your pie chart don't pie?
It's not pieing right now.
Not Pi Day yet.
14%, let's see, 24% is public safety, community service about 19%, public works 13%, parks and rec 8%. So there's where some of our issues are, maybe a little bit. Health and human services, things like the food pantry and senior center, 4%. Transfers to capital, that's where we transfer after the end of the fiscal. Kind of the end of the fiscal season, we'll get with the council and they will sort of indicate where they want the excess sales tax revenue to go to. And each year we put it in different capital items. And so the council will make a decision on where that goes. But that typically it goes to things like transportation and roads and parks and things like that. So that's where that money goes. And transferred to the fire department is about 3%. That comes from the general fund. So just a quick rundown of, you know, it's a large budget. You know, everything from general government, we spend about 1.7 million, about 2.9 million on public safety, 2.34 on community service, public works, $1.5 million, $1.25 million to parks and rec, and health and human services. And then we transfer about 1.84 million according to the figures that I was looking at. So anyway, those are just a few, just an update on some of the things that are going on as far as our funding. And then we mentioned the water. And that is, you know, a lot of people are concerned about that. And when I first started, I think about 90% of the concern, a lot of people were really concerned about our water supply. We've worked on that now for several years. Council has funded secondary water, which has made a huge difference to our culinary water supply. And as time goes on, that culinary water supply will become, we'll spend more and more effort on getting our secondary water up and going, and as a result, culinary water sort of flattens out through the summertime and produces a lot more. We have a lot more capacity. So anyway, that's my report, and I think council, we have to go in. Councilmember Rhodey would like to go into closed session for just a few minutes, so we'll go ahead and excuse. I think we'll excuse everybody except for Bill and Jeff.
I'll make a motion, we go into closed session.
Yes.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're going to closed session.
Thanks, Mayor.
I know, right?